Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rage and Love, where we passionately debate, explore, and review topics about religion, science, history, and current events. Sadly, it seems like every week lately it has been about current events. And here we are again. But on a more serious note, there comes a time in history when we have to decide who we are, not just as individuals, but as a society. We're standing at that point right now. With the stroke of a pen, so many executive orders are being used to unravel decades of progress, stripping away protections, silencing voices, and reinforcing a culture where discrimination isn't just tolerated but accepted. So, I would say that the recent assault on diversity, equity, and inclusion isn't really about fairness, it's more about control. It's about making it easier for racism, ableism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, and all the other forms of oppression to go unchecked. It's about erasing transgender people, turning immigration into a battlefield, and dehumanizing entire communities to justify their suffering. But this isn't just about policy, this is personal because every family that's torn apart, for every trans person that is denied the right to exist as themselves, for every minority that told that they are less than, these orders have real devastating consequences. They chip away at the dignity and safety, at the very idea that we all deserve to be treated as human beings. But history has shown us something powerful. Oppression thrives on silence. And there's one thing that we refuse to do: be silent. So today we are going to not be silent. And we have, as usual, Joseph, my co host, Cognitive Echo, and RogueShow. Welcome, guys.
Hey, what's up? Should be a good show. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too, me too. So, where to even get started? Like, man, there are just so many topics to talk about. I say we start from maybe the most recent one, which was the plane crash. Perhaps that was like a shit show. Yeah,
Well, I
yeah,
think that was the first official press conference that Trump had did as well in the press room,
yeah.
and I had flashbacks from the COVID days when he would stand up there and just blab and babble on about nonsense. And I think I came into realization that we have almost a little less than 4 years of this left to get through, and I started thinking I'm not even sure if I can handle this nonsense. But
It
I do.
hasn't been 2 weeks yet.
I know. It's it's mind-boggling. It is, but yeah, that press conference was quite the show, quite the shit show actually. And yeah, it left me wondering if this is reality. Are we? Is that actually our president that's talking like that? Sadly, hours later after that, I saw the statement that former President Obama put out, and the difference was night and day
Oh
between
yeah,
the statement. Somehow, Trump always makes everything about himself when it should have been about the victims and about the tragic loss of life for the families. What do you
yeah.
how did you feel about that? Rogue Show, did you watch it? The first press conference when that accident occurred, or did you not see that?
Unfortunately, no, I did not. I did not see that.
You're lucky. You're lucky. You should consider yourself lucky. It was horrible. So we can summarize it for you a little bit. Basically, he began with saying that a plane crashed into a helicopter. All right, those were his
Mhm.
words, which is not quite correct because a plane has less ability to move away from a helicopter than a helicopter does from moving away from a plane. But later on in this speech, he actually goes on to blame the helicopter pilots. He's just like, well, we know that the Biden administration has all these DEI hires, and it's possible that it could have been one of the pilots. And it's like they had zero information yet. They didn't even know who the pilots were, and he was already blaming everybody at random, like first it's the pilots, then it's the DI, then it was Biden, then it was the plane, then it was, I don't know, the cold night and the cold
I
water. Uh, uh,
yeah, I heard though it was. I heard that. Yeah, I vaguely heard Trump use blaming DEI um for the plane crash, and to be hon- to be honest, almost unsurprising. It's almost unsurprising
mhm.
because he'll just say anything. Like if he wants a fearmonger about immigrants, he'll say Haitians are eating your dogs. Uh,
Oh yeah, exactly.
and
Yeah,
this
I
is
mean, he
and
he just used that situation, like lives were just lost, and he used that tragic moment to be like, well, it's the fault of Biden because DEI, because diversity, and because like these people of color and I don't know, disabled people are running wild. I guess it's
I mean
his
it
view
goes
of
to
it.
show that it goes to show that conservative it goes to show that conservatives will use uh like tragic events as like political tools.
Weapons.
Like
Yeah.
for instance, Senator Mike. Firstly, like Hurricane Helene, Senator Mike Johnson was refusing to give FEMA subsidies because he wants because so he can blame it on the Democrats.
Mhm.
Um, you also have like you have like some other conservatives blaming DEI for the LA fires, saying if they wouldn't have focused less on diversity, then maybe they would focus more on the fire hydrants.
Yeah, I saw that too, Rogue Show. I did see that, and it
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
So
yeah,
yeah,
like
there's just
using tragedy, like politicizing tragedy, basically.
the thing they don't understand, even with DEI. Well, I think we understand it, but so many people will falsely believe when they hear them regurgitate saying that DEI allows them to hire people that are not qualified for the position and give these positions to people who are underqualified, which is completely not the case. Like, for example, with the air traffic controllers, even if those people were hired based on DEI, they still have to meet the strict qualifications and
Mm,
certifications in order to hold that position. Um, yes, it may give someone of color or someone of a different what's the word I'm looking for, background than your normal,
background, yeah,
yeah, white
the
person,
average.
yeah, average. Definitely, it's still they're still going to have to meet those requirements, and then they use more propaganda and spread more lies by the wording that was on the FFA website when the FFA had wording that stated that they hire people with learning disabilities or people that normally would not they have disabilities that normally wouldn't be able to hold a normal job, and they spread the misinformation that these people are the ones who are being hired for air traffic controllers, are being put in positions that are critical for safety, which is complete nonsense again. um, you have When you have the government offer programs to employ people with disabilities, you should see that as a good thing. They're not putting these people in positions that are gonna cause safety concerns or put them in positions where they could cause harm. They're giving them jobs, probably custodian jobs, or maybe doing paperwork and so forth, office style work. It's nothing in comparison to what's being spread as lies, basically on social media and online.
Yeah, I mean, that's like saying that they're gonna give a blind person, the position of a air traffic controller. Like that literally does not happen. So they're not giving unqualified people jobs that they're not qualified for. Like they will match you with the abilities that you have with the job that you can do. So, but yeah, his wording was so hurtful, especially I would say for the disabled community, which I am part of. I was legally blind for many years. I'm deaf. Uh, I have a lot of limitations with my work. And he said he was claiming that the FAA is actually FAA, not FFA.
Did I
FFAC.
say FFA
Yeah,
earlier? Oh, my bad. Yeah, not Future Farmers of America.
right.
Thanks for
Yeah.
correcting me.
The
Anyways, yeah,
thing is, the thing is that the conservatives have bitched about this is pretty much like falling under. This is what conservatives think about affirmative action.
mm,
Like they think they'll just hire someone. They'll think you just hire someone because they're black without the qualifications. No, that's not the case. Uh, it's usually two people with the same amount, two people with the same amount of qualifications, probably. Uh, but because one person came from this background, another person came from this background, the one who came from the the one who had to like fight poverty or had to fight through more stuff is more likely going to get the job because they probably have the higher worth ethic. That's affirmative action.
yeah, I think they see it as, oh, look, this company has, I don't know, 3 positions to fill, and they are going to fill them with somebody, with a person of color, with an LGBTQ person, and with a disabled person, just because they want to have diversity and inclusion. And like, they're not going to give, the white person a chance. It's like, it's not that way. It's just making sure that companies are not discriminating uh, someone based solely on their sex, their gender, their skin color, their ability, like, or disability. Uh, it's just they have such a lack of understanding of what's going on around them, like the terminologies that are being used, or like the ultimate goal of the AI. Like they truly don't seem to understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic within itself. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of misunderstanding in regards to how that works. Um, can I make a statement? I did see someone was talking in the chat. They were talking about how Trump had downsized, federal employees from the FAA, and that is true. He did fire the Transportation Security head administrator.
Administrator,
Yeah,
yeah, the
David. I
head,
think it was David Pekoski. I think that's how you say the last name.
yeah,
Um, and he didn't reappoint someone until the day of the
yeah,
press conference, basically. Um, and he did also uh, disband. It was the Aviation Security Advisory Committee, and
correct.
so there's other things that he did that he doesn't even mention. That
But also, one more, the chief of the FAA resigned on inauguration day because Elon Musk called
was
for him to
asking for
quit,
him. Yeah, yeah,
and he was not replaced at the time. So yeah, so another one. Uh, yeah, you go ahead.
yeah. That was
What you
Mike
were saying?
Whittaker you're talking about, right? The FFA administrator.
Yeah,
Yeah,
correct.
yeah. And then he reappointed. I think it was Chris. I can't pronounce the last name. I think it's Roclio. I'm probably saying it incorrect.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like there was some misinformation going around saying that he fired air control, uh, traffic air control people staff, but that was not true. So
Yeah, I did see
just
some.
putting
I
that
saw
out
that
there.
they were saying that they fired 100 of the top uh, air traffic controllers, but yeah, I did read that
Yeah,
that was an incorrect claim as well.
correct. Yeah, it was just people from different agencies, including, like you mentioned, the Aviation Security Advisory Committee. That's where those firings came from.
But
Mhm.
there are reports that they were understaffed, but that's something that's been an
That's
ongoing
been going
issue
around. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
years. Just under they don't have enough air traffic controllers. So I mean, that's something that people should look into doing. I mean, it's I'm sure it is a very very hard job to take though, because I'm sure it's a lot of pressure to be in control of that much stuff. But to have one person in the tower controlling both plane traffic and helicopter traffic is pretty wild to think.
Yeah, and I mean these people are they do have, like you said, they're understaffed and they have a shortage of air controllers, and so it's understandable that these people are probably overworked, they're exhausted, they're tired, they may make some mistakes. But when you do watch the video and listen to the audio, there the air controller tells the pilot of the helicopter, do you see, and then he says the name of the plane, and he tells whoever the pilot was, them, to go under or behind it. And then he repeats that order. He's like, go over or behind them. And nothing happens. And then a few seconds later, there's the crash. Uh, but I mean, like, Trump is claiming that these are DEI hires were to blame for the crash. But these were the people that were working there had already been working there for years, like for at least for the last 4 years or so, and have caused no problem.
Right. If they were
So,
incompetent in the
like,
position they were in, there would have been how could
exactly.
there was no type of fatalities or any type of crashes prior to that, for the
If
years that
they
they've worked.
were, yeah, if they were, as he claims, people with mental disabilities or with any type of physical disability, or that were unqualified for the job, then we would have seen a pattern of these crashes happening all over. And this is the very first one. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's a coincidence, but he comes in and fires people involved in aviation safety. He puts freezes on new hires, and this happens. Like, I'm not saying he's to blame because correlation doesn't equal causation, but I'm saying that they need to look in other places than the DEI hires.
Well, there's already been more information coming out today. I didn't see the press conference that was held maybe about 30-45 minutes ago. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure. I don't have the most up to date details, but I was reading and hearing some stuff earlier this morning, and it does seem that the route that the helicopter was flying. So there's helicopter flight paths right next to the landing area of the airport, and they did the flight path that helicopter was on. They've actually put that flight path, they've taken it out of existence right now. No helicopters can fly because there was one prior uh, almost incident that occurred where a helicopter was very close to hitting crashing into
It
another
was
plane.
the day
Yeah,
before.
the day before, yes. So it seems like that area is just very congested. Um, it seems like it needs to be more focused on the flight paths and patterns of and that type of things versus who was actually in the control tower and how they were hired. But Trump has already smeared the whole thing and has everybody, half the people that read headlines and especially followers of his, they're already hell bent that that it's DEA, and that it was DEI that caused the issue, and they're going to keep going with that. As you see during that press conference, everybody that came up after Trump regurgitated the same exact bullshit. Um, I know me and you talked about it when when the vice president came up and he's just kind of like, oh yeah, I basically want to say agree with everything Trump said, and that's it. It's like, well, why did you even come up to talk? It's like Trump just like brought everybody up there to showcase his goons, basically.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I agree with
it's a
that. I think
fucking
that's
Pokemon.
exactly what he was. Right. Yeah. So there was another piece of misinformation that you told me about, Joseph, earlier, about the pilot. Do you want to go
Yeah,
over that?
this is pretty nasty.
Mm.
So there was misinformation being spread. I know that we had a whole show about misinformation when Facebook stated they were going to stop doing fact checking. But if you've been on X within the last day and a half since this incident occurred, you see there's just like so much crap going on out there. And one of the main things they were spreading is they were saying that the pilot of the Black Hawk helicopter was actually a trans woman. And they gave the name of the pilot, which is a National Guard woman. Her name is Joe Ellis. And they were spreading the rumor that she was the one behind, in control of the helicopter when it crashed. And she had to come out and make a statement saying, it wasn't me, I'm alive.
Yeah, I'm gonna share that
Yeah, we
video
actually have the
that
video
you
that she
speaking
shared
about.
on her social media. So it's so sickening that she even has to do this.
And when
Let's see if it will play.
Interesting morning. This is Joe Ellis. I am a Black Hawk pilot with Virginia Army National Guard. I understand some people have associated me with the crash in DC, and that is false. It is insulting to the families to try to tie this to some sort of political agenda. They don't deserve that. I don't deserve this. And I hope that you all know that I'm alive and well, and this should be sufficient for you all to end all the rumors. I also have a statement. The Department of Defense is responsible for casualty notifications. There were no Virginia National Guard personnel on that Black Hawk that collided with the jetliner Wednesday evening. Thank you.
What do y'all think about that, RogueShow?
I mean, it's very good. It's very good that she's speaking up for herself, because
Yeah,
dumb fucks who don't
yeah,
like
go ahead.
fact checking somehow. They would just. That's what happens. That's what happens when you don't like fact check. That's what happens when you don't fact check people. Whoa! What the? Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
it's a sad
My
state
screen
that
went
we
white.
have to. Oh, we can still see you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're good. You're good.
So yeah,
Your light
it's
changed, but you're good.
focus. Like it's very vital that you need to fact check things. Like, even though Daddy Trump doesn't fucking like it, that's what people have. That's what people like Joe Ellis, was it?
Yeah, Joe Ellis, that's correct.
Yeah, that's what people like Joe Ellis have to do to defend themselves. And once again, I cannot stop bringing this up about the Haitian migrants. But it's important. It's important that had to be fact checked, because those people were actually affected and were harassed constantly, even though they were documented immigrants that Trump sees, or all the conservative zombies like to say, like, I don't.
Yeah, I feel like they were trying to merge blaming DEI and transgender people all in one by saying that the pilot was a transgender woman.
Yeah. Well, I see a pattern with his administration. They're basically they're trying to turn everybody against trans people. They're trying to turn people against people of color, people of different nationality. If you're not white, basically, you're at risk under this administration, sadly. And even if you're white, I think you do have some things to worry about as well. If you're standing up for the rights of these people that they're trying to go after, I think they're going to come after you as well.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. So I was gonna go over some of their DEI website on the White House page, because the wording was just shocking, expected at the same time. Like right here it says they like basically the executive order that Trump signed and what they're trying to pass as laws is going to terminate diversity, equity, and inclusion discrimination in the federal workforce and in federal contraction and spending. Like it, it terminates discrimination. Hello, do they not see the problem there? Like, how in the world do they think that that wording is something positive going ahead? Like, hey, let's be proud that America no longer, has protections for discrimination. Like, you cannot really discriminate against whoever you want, however you want. Like,
I mean,
it blows my mind.
it's so fucking weird. It's so fucking weird that in the first sentence, in the very first sentences, they're talking about protecting against discrimination, and then but the DEI is already doing that.
Right.
They're like, nope,
That's
yeah,
the whole reason. The whole reasoning for having DEI is to protect against discrimination. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
I mean,
but the ironic
getting rid of
part.
that.
Okay, did your
I'm
sound
getting an
change?
echo now. Yeah. Did you change something, RogueShow?
No, it might be because of the transition between the
Okay.
link
Yeah, I don't
and
hear it
the
now. So we're good. Yeah.
It's possible. Let's see.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like I hear myself.
Yeah, you're not echoing, RogueShow.
I-
It's me and
Yeah, if I
AJ.
mute him, it stops.
Is your sound coming through your laptop, or is it coming through headphones?
It's okay. And
But that's weird. We weren't
might
hearing
need
it
to go.
earlier, so I'm not sure what happened.
I don't know. I might need to put on headphones and see.
You're good. Take your time.
I'm sorry, but I am very sorry this is happening.
Yeah,
No, you're
good.
fine, RogueShow. It's no issue. We'll continue while he's doing that.
Technical difficulties always happen.
Hey, it's a live show. It happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's like removing these DEI policies is going to affect more than just hiring practices. It's like gonna take us back to the time where discrimination was openly accepted and even encouraged. But they don't realize that this also affects minorities within their own base, like lower income white women, right? Like, but I'm not surprised because it seems like they will probably be okay with their white wives going back into the kitchen.
I know we were discussing that yesterday. It definitely is going to affect some of their base. But are they worried about that, or is that percentage so small that they're not worried about it?
Yeah, but imagine if a company. Okay, you're still echoing. Anyway, so no, I was saying, imagine if a company suddenly discriminated openly because of all these rollbacks on DEI against a Christian white male because he's a Christian, because he's white, and because he's a male. Now you can openly do that.
Yeah, you could not hire. You could say, "I don't want to
Right.
hire you," because you can openly discriminate against that. Well,
Right. Imagine how they will flip.
Oh
if
yeah, they
openly started
would
doing that.
they would throw a tantrum over something like that. As soon as somebody decides they're not going to hire somebody based on that, and they're gonna throw a fit about it for sure. But I'm gonna unmute RogueShow so we can try to see if we can get this resolved. Let's see.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, RogueShow, are you still there?
Testing 1 2 3.
Yeah, we hear you fine, but when we talk, we get feedback. That's odd.
Yeah, what's happened is we hear our voice echoing on your audio, kind of as if you were listening to our show in the background.
Well, yours sounds fine now. There we go. Well,
All right, let's try it.
now it's only me. Like yours didn't do it. It was me.
I don't know why it's happening. I don't know what's happening because I do not have a live show. I do not have your live stream.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Yeah, you don't have it open.
No.
AJ, talk.
Yeah, I don't know what is going on.
Yeah, now AJ is echoing again. I'm sorry, guys. Everybody who's tuned in, sorry that we're having issues with the sound right now.
Yeah.
Maybe
Okay. So someone says only you are echoing.
no, but you're echoing now.
Yeah. Same.
How about this? Do this, RogueShow. Can you exit out and then come and then rejoin, and we'll see if it fixes it.
Let me.
You have the link, right?
Yeah, like I'm gonna kick you and then and rejoin from the link and then see if that fixes it.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, we're gonna try to get this resolved, everybody, because
Yeah, it doesn't echo between our.
yeah, our
Yes,
audio is fine, but
definitely on
it's
the-
definitely not bearable in order. If we have to maybe not have RogueShow on the rest of the show, that's gonna suck because I was enjoying
No,
our
we can
conversation with him.
just mute him like we were doing. We mute him when we speak, and then he can unmute himself when he speaks. I
RogueShow
think
always has
that's
great insight with political conversations, so that's why we invited him on today.
yeah. Well, I guess in the meantime, while we wait, I can probably do some shameless self advertising for the channel because I just today I put up a lot of upcoming shows that we're gonna have that are gonna be really fun. So I'm gonna put them on the screen real quick so people can see uh, what's coming up. All right, so we have the next show that we have is gonna be on February 8th, and it's gonna be Secular Rarity doing some announcements and chatting a little bit about community and all of that stuff. Then we're gonna have Kelly's birthday celebration on the
Yay!
15th. That's gonna be fun as well. Um, there's like some surprises that are gonna happen on that show. I don't want to say it because I don't want anybody to tell him and him finding out. So everybody's gonna have to wait
You got to tune in.
to find out what the surprises are.
And if you are not familiar with Eli either, it should be a really fun conversation with him.
Oh yeah, Eli actually just started a channel, and I'm completely blanking on what the name was. But it's him and one of his friends, and I found they got like 3 followers. Maybe if I can find that later, I'll share it, or we'll share it on the next show. Yeah, but he started his channel with his friend, and they just do like talking. I'm sure if you search Eli Slack, it'll probably come up. Then the week after that, we have on the 19th, which is actually a Wednesday. We're going to do a weekday show just to accommodate our guest, Objectively Dan from Truth Wanted. And also he's on So Dance, which is a super fun show.
Yeah, we have to go back and watch those answers from yesterday because we were busy watching the Fire Aid last night, which was a pretty cool event. All right, I'm gonna bring RogueShow back up to see if we resolve the issue. Hey, RogueShow.
Heyo.
All right, I think we're good.
Yeah, sounds good now, I think. I don't hear any. Hopefully it doesn't mess
power
up.
of headphones.
Okay, well, it sounds good now. No echo, so we're good.
Hopefully it doesn't mess up again with the.
Man, Donald
with
Trump
the
really
screen
wants to
sharing.
silence us.
He
He's
must
using his elite hackers.
Yeah, I
They're
think so.
coming
I think
directly
so.
for us now. Directly for us.
He probably sent his gods or Jesus or something, to like mess with us.
Yeah, I'm excited to actually have the show with doing the social norms with Punk Apostate. I mean, it should be
Oh
really
yeah,
fun.
that was the last one I was gonna mention. It's on the 22nd. Yeah, Brentley is gonna be on, and we're gonna talk about disrupting social norms like gender, ideologies and like sexual orientation ideologies, all kinds of stuff that we often discuss here. Like, so it's gonna be really really fun. He's a really cool guy to hang out with. So we were, let's get back on topic. All right. We were talking about
We were on DEI, I believe we were still.
yeah, how people would be responding if, we were openly discriminating against white people, and based on their religion, based on their race, based on their whether they're straight, discriminating a straight person, right? And now you can do it freely. Now you're free to do it thanks to the president, right? But I mean, we know that there is just one goal here, and without these rollbacks, and it's advancing white male privilege. I'm sorry that you are both put in the uncomfortable situation of being white males. Not all of them are like that. We know that. So I appreciate you both coming here and letting everybody talk about white men and being like, hey, that's right. I
We're
can't
the good.
deny it.
We're the good white boys.
Yeah,
You guys
exactly.
are. You guys are. Yeah, for sure. I agree with that.
I
Um,
mean, you have to stand up for what's right. I mean, and that's just the way I feel. And if you can't see what's happening and you sit silently and let others be pushed down, I mean, that's not the human thing to do. You have to stand up for everybody.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. And speaking of that, there's been there's so many other things to stand up against. Uh, like we were just talking about trans rights, right? Like how they were blaming um, the flight crash on a trans woman with zero evidence that that was the case, and that was shared by hundreds, I don't know, probably thousands, or who knows how
Probably
many
thousands.
people
Yeah.
on Facebook with no fact checking, no accountability for it. Um, and another one of the things that's being pushed is this sort of redefinition of gender and biological sex. Um, and it's actually on, I wanted to show like the White House wording, but let me get, while I put that up, let me get
I
you guys
and I'm
uh, thoughts on that.
The
yeah.
name of
I
the
have
oh, I'm sorry,
extensive.
RogueShow. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, I have extensive. Like once we get to that, I have some extensive thoughts on that because I've been working it. Lo and behold, I've been trying to work on a YouTube video um about this very this very same executive order.
No, I'm interested to hear this for sure, RogueShow. So we'll let you talk for sure.
Yeah, so okay, I'm hearing again a little bit of echo.
No, it's very, very mild though. Just ignore it.
It's super low. Yeah, let me see. Uh, okay, so I have the definition here that they're trying to use. Um, it says that they are going to only recognize two sexes, male and female, and that they are not changeable, and that they are grounded in fundamental and incontrovertible reality. I hope I said that right. Incontrovertible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, it says, under my direction, the executive branch will enforce all sex protective laws to promote this reality. So they it basically saying that they are going to enforce whatever reality they want us to be in. All right.
Yeah, yeah. So they created this reality that there's only two, and they're gonna enforce it. Yeah.
I
Right.
mean,
Like,
this is
yeah,
this is
that
like the uh I kind of want to explain why I obviously want to explain why it's not reality. Because first, because firstly, it's my firstly like reading through this thing. It's so it's so simple and dumbed down that it's useless on how they're defining sex. When sex is determined by four characteristics. It's determined by sexual the organ, firstly, uh, chromosomes, gametes, and what was the other? Oh, hormones. Uh,
And genes. So it's five. Yeah.
yeah, and, and genetics and stuff, and genetics and stuff, and all
Yes.
of and all of them, and all of them either be argument could either be arguments for transit. My trans people the the sex uh, they have transitioned to, or intersex people. Uh, I'm not saying this invalidates people who haven't medically transitioned, but it's still stupid to say that it's still stupid to exclude trans people from these categories. Because one, they do uh, trans people when they medically transition, they have they generally have the sexual organ, or if they have generally have the sexual organ uh, they've transitioned to with that, and with intersex people, some are like born probably without a functioning uh, without a functioning penis or vagina, uh, which would classify them as intersex. That, or they could have both sexual organs. That, or like they could be a she, they could be a she-male, uh, so to speak. If you're trying to make argument with hormones, well, people with, there's people who identify as men, with like a high estrogen count, and vice versa, and vice versa. Uh, with the with gametes, well, there's trans people who have medically transitioned haven't uh aren't able to produce those gametes. Uh, so, and there are people who were born that also can't produce those gametes. And and finally, chromosomes. Uh, say for instance, like a woman who it looks mostly female, and if you try to like define it with chromosomes, well, people uh there's people with no, there's people who like appear to be female but have the opposite chromosomes. Like for instance, Sawyer syndrome. Uh,
Yeah.
that's that's particularly in women with XY chromosomes. So it is very so yeah. As one of those comments said, it is very complex, or not very complex, but it's pretty complex, and it's hard. You can hardly stick people inside a box, and it's especially given that sex and gender are different things. Like this, I was just ranting about the sexual part of, of this. There is there's real psychological stuff happening with trans people. Like as far as as far as we're concerned, like psychologically speaking, the, their internal sense of self is that of like being a woman, or like a trans woman, or a man, a trans man, like those, or non-binary. Uh, uh,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
there's just so much, so many variables that that come into play when you're talking about just biological sex, not even gender. Like you said, biological sex and gender are completely different things. Like uh, let's define them real quick. Like biological sex is what your anatomical, biological, physical uh, qualities are, and gender is what society determines you should act like, look like, behave like, right? So when they have this page right here saying that there will be no difference between biological sex and gender, and that it's going to be all the same thing. It's like it's mind blowing because gender has clearly changed and evolved over hundreds of years and thousands of years uh, that we have written and recorded history that we know of, right? Uh, so it's silly to put gender as a set thing that is this way and it's not going to be changed. Uh, and I don't know. I'm just shocked on that. But so I'm going to continue with that within the part of the website, and it says that sex shall refer to an individual's immutable biological classification. And here's that they're trying to use big words to make it seem like they know what they're talking about. As either male or female, and sex is not a synonym for and does not include the concept of gender identity. Well, I guess they do make a difference there. They are making a difference, I suppose. But at the same time, they continue saying that woman or woman and girls or girl shall mean adult and juvenile human females respectively. And then men or boys shall mean adult juvenile human males respectively. And then female means a person belonging at conception to the sex that produces the large reproductive cell. And male means a person belonging at conception again to the sex that produces the small reproductive cell. Let me just point out right here the wording, the sex that produces the small reproductive cells sounds like it was written by a third grader. All right. And at conception, uh, that kind of backfired right there because embryos before 6 weeks are undifferentiated, meaning that you cannot tell them apart unless you ran a gene and chromosome test. And those still can't tell you 100% because, as RogueShow explained, there are so many different factors. And a few of the factors, like hormones and brains, uh, haven't developed yet at 6 weeks. So you have to go by visual genitals when you're looking at an embryo. And the White House has determined that at conception, which actually pretty much means the day that you had sex with your partner, right? Then that's when your biological sex is determined by whether you make these large or small reproductive cells. But technically,
Then, if,
they're talking
then
about
everyone
sperm
would
and
be a
eggs.
fucking. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, like
Then everyone, would be,
exactly.
then everyone would be a fucking. Everyone would be a fucking woman if it's at conception.
That's what she's getting
Like,
to, I think,
they,
right?
they're,
Yeah. Like they
the thing
like
is, sorry.
yeah, like conservatives like to use the visual genitalia to determine biological sex, like how is this done when a baby is born, right? But if they're going to be using that at conception or up to 6 weeks, then which is during that time, conception will be within the time of the 6 weeks of gestation of pregnancy. But the problem there is that all genitals at that time look the same. If we follow uh, what they would look like, it would be like a tiny bump, all right? Kind of like they look more female because the penis isn't fully developed yet. So if you were to look at it, you will be like, that's a girl. And if it's a boy, you will be like, well, that looks like a girl. So technically speaking, they just categorize everybody
Everybody
is
is female.
female. So you ladies over here in my presence, hello girls. But like, if we actually follow the real science and based on the look, they will be non-binary at conception is what they will mean. But apparently, they removed the non-binary option because they
Yeah, we
made it a
can't
binary. So
we can't use non-binary, right, under this administration. So yeah, you're
yeah,
female.
so technically that right now everybody's a female. Yeah, based on the looks, based on just the way things look. All right, no, we're not counting genes or chromosomes there. Yeah, so it's just mind-blowing.
Exceptionally average said, "How are they going to deal with that?" I haven't seen them
They're fucking not.
address that yet. I mean, I
They
haven't seen them say anything about
fucking aren't.
it. But they definitely didn't check their work.
Yeah, probably just like the way they do everything else, just deny it and like move on.
Yeah, pragmatic says that they'll sidestep it, which is exactly what they will do: deflect and deny.
Exactly,
Yeah,
like they'll find another thing to focus on, or be like change the wording and brush it under the carpet. Like nobody saw anything,
What
even though millions of
the
people
last
already
thing?
thought.
Sorry. The last thing I want to point out, or last two things I want to point out, is two as one. Uh, their optic of defending women.
Mm,
First of all, they
good
don't give
claim.
a fuck about they don't give a fuck about women because they'd rather they'd rather have incubators than people when it comes to women. Secondly, it's very funny that they tried to use the biology optic uh,
yeah.
for this thing because he elected RFK. He picked RFK Jr., the guy who thinks herd immunity is is going to like cure diseases when it really probably has probably one of the reasons that it brought back polio or something.
Well,
Uh,
no, go ahead.
and yeah, so it's very wacky. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, that's what
he's
I have to
made
say.
yeah, no, he's made some like really weird statements. And you just brought up abortion rights. Um, when you said about making women incubators, like the force women to stay pregnant just because they want to. But he's made some really weird statement about abortion rights. Like first he said he was in support of it, even late term abortion, which really nobody on the left wants late term abortions. Right? Like nobody's doing this. What do they call it? Abortion after birth or something like that. It's so weird. But he said he later changed his mind, and then he said that they needed to regulate abortions and do them up to a specific term in the pregnancy. And then I think it was during his confirmation, I believe, uh, I remember he said that he agrees with President Trump that every abortion is a tragedy, and that he serves at the pleasure of the president, and he's going to implement his policies. Those were his words. He serves at his pleasure.
So he doesn't have his own thoughts and his own ideals of what should be, when you're put in a position, you're put in that position because you pick somebody who is knowledgeable and who has ideals about how to manage and to move forward in that position. Why is he going to serve and do exactly what Trump wants to do? It shouldn't be that way. It's like all these people that Trump is putting into these positions of power, they're all people that will do exactly what Trump wants them to do. They don't have any confidence in their own agenda. It's only to serve Trump's agenda, sadly.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing is that the targets of these agendas are like we were just discussing. For example, transgender people. Like they their goal is to dehumanize groups of people in order to erase them from existence. Like they're Joe, you and I were talking about this yesterday. It's like they look at someone who is different than them, somebody who is gay, trans, a person of color, a non-white immigrant, uh, people with disabilities, and they are afraid of that. They're scared of that. I don't know if they're scared of their power or what exactly, but anybody that's different, they have to dehumanize them. And once they do that, they can get their supporters to support doing anything to them because they're no longer seen as equal humans
Yeah.
as them. Uh, one example will be like the executive order that Trump signed. What was that, yesterday or the day before? He said that minors under 19 years old are not going to be allowed to have any type of
Gender affirming care, right?
gender
Yeah.
affirming care. Like
Yeah.
his words were that he has instructed the Health and Human Services Secretary to take all appropriate actions to end the chemical and surgical mutilation of children, including puberty blockers, hormones, and surgical procedures, which is ridiculous because nobody is mutilating children. Like these surgeries are usually are pretty much always done after the person is of age to consent. And the only surgeries that are being done for people with gender issues are for intersex kids. All right, like we talked about earlier, there may be a kid that has the chromosomes that don't match their genitals, or that they have genitals that are um, I forgot what the term is, but that they may have tissue from both vaginal tissue and penile tissue. So it's both of them are visible, and the parents have to make the decision of whether the child is going to live as one or the other. I mean, that's something that's usually made a decision made between the parent and the doctors, which is how it should be. Um, I understand that sometimes those surgeries could wait until later, but in the case with where
Um,
those things are so clear, that's the surgeries that are happening. Like there's nobody's mutilating children except for the ones that are doing circumcisions out there for religious purposes.
also, like the this something I want to bring up about you know, two things I want to bring up. Firstly, it's you'd have to argue, you would literally have to argue that knee surgery or a necessary or any other necessary surgery that needs to be done to your child, like say if your say if your arm's infected and you need to amputate, it needs to be amputated right fucking now. You can't just wait 19 till he's 19 to
To
do
cut
that.
them off, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, and secondly, gender affirming care is was mainly done for cis people. It wasn't mainly done for trans people. Or it wasn't mainly done for trans people. I think back in the day because yeah, puberty blockers were were like are gender affirming care like puberty blockers or hormone stuff. Uh, sorry, hormone replacement. I think um those are used for people insecure of cis people insecure of their gender, and there's also people. There's also like the facial reconstruction surgery to make themselves look more masculine. All like all that.
Well,
Like they're just gonna throw out all that.
well, another one would be, say a child has a cleft lip, and if a parent decides they want to have surgery, cosmetic surgery to fix that for the child before he's 18, they allow that. AJ made a very similar argument with circumcision. So circumcision is genital mutilation before the child is 18, and they're allowing them to do that. So what is the difference? It's basically
Yeah, I mean, they're saying it's only going to affect gender affirming procedures and surgeries, not
Okay.
yeah. So it,
No, no, but I'm just saying they're
but
contradicting themselves in terms of saying that they
yeah,
want to allow a child under 18 to have any type of surgery.
yeah, but
Uh,
circumcision is definitely an elective surgery that the
it
parent
is.
chooses
It is
to. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I mean, so if they're gonna ban, that gender affirming care, then they need to ban circumcisions as well. Um,
but
I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It's they're not on the same page.
yeah, I
Uh,
mean, there's like several American medical associations that have said, including like the American Academy of Pediatrics, that have said that that kind of care is necessary, like for children's positive mental health. Um, and they're not talking about surgeries. Like we when we
yeah,
talk about
yeah,
gender affirming care in minors, we are talking about mostly therapy.
yeah.
Like that's the first step is therapy. So they're going to be refusing therapy to children. That's great.
Yes. So I
Uh,
was reading that basically insurance programs such as TRICARE and Medicaid, they won't be allowed to fund that, and they'll exclude coverage for yeah, which basically
yeah,
excludes gender affirming care for any minors under 18. They're also threatening to withhold funding from hospitals and clinics if they continue to choose to provide that type of treatment or care for patients. Um, so I mean, they're really pushing hard. They're stating, they're threatening legal actions against facilities that go against it. Um, I don't know.
yeah,
Again, like I
and
said, we
they flip out about puberty blockers. Okay, but puberty blockers are actually used for kids that have early puberty. Like if it comes on like age, I don't know, 6 7 8 or something like that, then they will use puberty blockers for a few years to delay the puberty. Every human being is going to go through a type of puberty. The thing that puberty blockers do for gender affirming care is like, say the child is 12 or 13, you give them the puberty blockers and it delays the puberty until they're a little bit older and can make a better decision with their parents and their doctors whether they want to go through male or female puberty. All right, so it's not like they're keeping children from going through puberty or something like that. It's like it's a temporary medication that's given. It's relatively safe, um, as far as I know. So, but if you think about it, only 1% of uh, people over the age of 13 are transgender, and in the U.S. And imagine those seeking medical intervention, it's a whole lot less than that. Like because the majority of like, well, I'm not gonna go into like the statistics because I don't actually know the exact numbers, but I know that a lot of transgender people don't go through any type of uh, medical transition. Right? They just go through what's called social transition, which is when you can change your name, you can change the way you look, how you present yourself, like your presentation. And also another fact is non-binary people are considered to be under the transgender umbrella. So when you're talking about transgender people, you're also usually generally including non-binary people. And non-binary people usually don't go through any type of medical transition. So like the percentage of people seeking that medical transition that they're trying to ban is a really really
it's very,
small
very
number.
small. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they want to make it seem like it's a much bigger amount of people, and it's such a much bigger issue because they want to basically, they're trying to suppress it basically because I think they're fearful that number will grow and the population of people will grow that want to be trans or that are trans, and then they won't be a minority anymore. I don't know. It just seems like there's a longer term reason or goal that they're trying to do in terms of squashing all of this.
Yeah, so I'm looking at something you sent me earlier. You say that they had some websites that are like federal websites were wiped out, that they went dark. Um, I was looking at the article right now, and it says, for example, some of the websites are from the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. It says they were scrubbed Friday afternoon. I think that would be today, right? Or
Yeah, that was today that they went out.
okay.
Yeah, there was a blackout on them.
So
Yeah.
some of the pages that were removed was the youth risk behavior surveillance system, the HIV and hepatitis and STD information, contraception page for healthcare providers, um, a page um, that was supposed to help with ending gender-based violence, uh, about HPV vaccinations. Let's see what else. Heart disease death rates by gender, by country, information about transgender and gender diverse people, uh, HIV prevention with drugs like PrEP, social vulnerability index related to demographics and socioeconomic factors adversely affecting minority communities, the health disparity among LGBTQ youth, creating safe schools for LGBTQ youth, and safer food choices for pregnant women. For example, all
I
of
mean,
those were.
that's a lot of resources that are being blacked out, basically, for our population. I mean, they're just basically trying to make it seem like they're trying to make trans people be non-existent, basically.
Yeah, that's
That's a,
exactly what they're doing. Like it's all about making sure that these people don't have any resources, that they can't be who they are, and yeah, that they no longer exist.
Yeah, my fear is that
it's
we're
what
gonna.
Hitler.
My
It's
fear. Oh,
literally
sorry.
sorry. It's literally verbatim what Hitler did during
Yeah, yeah.
during the
Well,
1930s. He literally fucking erased a, a bunch of studies on trans people that this one gender clinic had.
wow. Okay, I was not familiar with that. That's interesting.
Yeah, you
Um,
look at that. You should look that up.
yeah, so there's a comment in the chat by Catching Monsters, and it says it depends on the parents' views. Come to show parents don't want their kids exposed to certain things. While doing that, they're messing up everyone's lives. Yeah, that's really true. I mean, there are a lot of things that people are expressing that makes you wonder.
Well,
Uh,
my
yeah, go
no,
ahead.
go ahead.
You're probably
Yeah,
about
no,
to.
I'm gonna forget what I was gonna say. So let me say it. I was gonna that my fear basically is we're gonna get to the point where they're gonna put this as being a trans person, or it's gonna be put as a disease, basically, and they're going to use that to be able to try to say these people have a mental disorder, basically, if you're a
Well,
trans person.
they did that with homosexuality
Yeah.
back in the day. I mean, eventually it was taken out of the mental health disease manuals. But yeah, they're more than likely trying to do the same thing with trans people. Yeah, for sure.
And that's why we have to continue to speak up for the community, for our fellow humans. We have to continue to advocate and make sure that our voices are heard for everybody. We have to stand up and make sure that they're aware that we're not going to just sit quiet and let them do this.
Yeah, like let's give one example of a conversation that we had recently with someone. Um, this person doesn't want transgender people being teachers. What does the gender of the person teaching have anything to do with their qualifications for being able to teach? Like if you have straight cis male coaches sexually abusing girls, like no, like you, like transgender people do not equal being a pervert or being a
Sexual
pedophile.
predator.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
it is not, that is not how it works. Like but that is
And,
exactly what they're trying to make it seem like. Like, oh, this
and
trans woman, yeah,
on the contrary, if I guess hopefully it's not deleted by hopefully they haven't deleted the studies by now or the data by now. But data shows that uh, trans women are probably more likely to get sexually assaulted.
mm,
They're more likely to get sexually assaulted. Uh,
yeah,
I guess than to be a perpetrator. Like as far as the bathroom, of course I'm talking about those the bathroom studies or the prison or the data on trans people in prison. They're where that's more likely to happen. They're more likely to get sexually assaulted there.
Yeah.
okay,
But yeah, no,
Primary Crystal posted the
they've
link in the chat.
but yeah, saying they've been saying this of they've been saying this like everything else since the 50s. That are trans people are trans people are sex pests, or they're coming for your kids. When it really just like diminishes diminishes the meaning of actual sexual predators. People people who actually abuse kids that in that sort of way. That it draws attention away from the actual problem, like Donald Trump. Uh,
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, there's just so much hate. Like the example AJ was discussing about having a trans person, be a teacher in a school. Um, the conversation that we were having the other day uh, with someone close in our family is, I was asking, this person is against having a trans teacher in school teaching their children. So I asked him, and his statement or his view is he doesn't agree with trans people's decisions to be trans, but yet he always makes this statement that he accepts them, and he doesn't go out bashing trans people, or he doesn't go out talking bad about them or calling them derogative names, that he lets them live their life. So I asked him if his son was trans and his son wanted to be a teacher. That was his life goal, his dream. He wanted to be a teacher. And let's say that there was a law coming up that was going to be voted on that said trans people cannot be teachers. I asked him, would he vote yes for that law, to let his son be a trans teacher, or would he vote against the law, basically? And he basically said that he would stick to his values, and he would have to stand up and agree with the law, saying that that trans people could not be a teacher. So I told him, okay, so then you are affecting your son's life, because you're indirectly keeping him from being a teacher and reaching a goal in his life. So indirectly, even though he doesn't think he is indirectly interfering with this person's life.
To
I
me
mean,
personally, oh yeah, you go ahead, Rogsha. Go for it.
uh, it's I don't know. It's kind of similar. It feels slightly similar to a conversation I had, but with, of course, gay people. Like I was like speaking with a friend and stuff, and he was like, hate the sin, not the sin. He's like, hate the sin, not the sinner. When it comes to uh when it comes to like gay people, and I think he said his like son was gay or something. Uh, and strange thing is, the strange thing is that he said he didn't attend. Or, yeah, he loved his son a lot, but he didn't attend his wedding. He didn't attend his wedding because his value says
Uh,
homosexuality is a sin. So
yeah, there
yeah,
there is a big
so
difference. Uh, So there's a big difference between accepting someone and tolerating someone, and I think that's what it is. Like what you just said, like would he just like barely tolerate his son, not really accept him?
Yeah, I had a huge argument but on the definition of those two words, acceptance and tolerate. They're not the same, but many people think that they are. But I think they know they're not, but in their mind they tell themselves they are, so they can feel good about themselves, thinking like, "Oh, I tolerate them. That means I love them." Like it does not mean you love them. If you're only tolerating somebody, you're only tolerating them because you have to, not because you love them. You accept somebody when you love them. Acceptance means that you care for them emotionally, physically. You accept all their choices in their life, um, and you support them 100%. Tolerating is not the same.
Yeah. What I was gonna say earlier is that what we can, what people can do in order to become more accepting is to expose themselves to all kinds of people, to all sorts of people. All right. If you are so hell bent on saying, well, this person's, gay, trans, disabled, deaf, whatever it may be, person of color, and I don't want anything to do with that because I don't like that. I don't like their lifestyle or whatever. Or I don't want to see someone that is missing an eye, or I don't want to be around uh people of color because whatever stereotype they've heard about, right? Like, and you don't give them a chance. Like you have already predetermined that you don't want anything to do with them before you even get to know them as a person. But if you actually were to meet a trans person and you didn't know that they're transgender and make a good friendship, you will probably find out that you have a lot of things in common, that they're just like you. They have, likes, dislikes, they wishes, desires, they have dreams, they have hopes, aspirations, they have a career. Like, they are just another human being. If you take away the person's color, if you take away the person's ability, if you take away the person's whatever they may present as, they're just another human being. And that's how we rehumanize people. We get to know them on a personal level. But when you refuse to do
I
that, you're
guess
like, "Ah." Yeah, go ahead.
I have a I might have a slight disagreement. So uh, that's just to say when we refer that's just to say like we I do think like we do need to recognize these certain things, or the certain things about them, like except, and we also need to embrace them, but we need
Yeah,
to embrace those. Uh, we can't just like, or simply we can't simply take those away. Can't simply take those away and just say they're we're all human, we're all human beings. That's that we have to like embrace the parts, those certain parts about them.
yeah,
Uh,
like the imperfections, I guess you could say.
yeah, because it's the thing. The reason why like I slightly kind of disagree, or we maybe talk about each other. One of the two is because I hear the notion of color blind. I hear the notion of color blindness when it comes to race people, or when it comes to race. The problem with that is that it ignores the cultural baggage and the oppression and sort of the oppression that this certain group of people had to go through and had to endure. It's okay.
Yeah, no, that's
Uh,
I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, like it's not about like removing all those things, but it's more like maybe I worded it wrong. Probably what I'm trying to say is like we have to realize that besides those things, right? Despite those things, like this person is just another human being. And yeah, like you're saying, like embrace that, embrace the differences. Like, why does everybody have to be the same? Why does everybody have to be white, cisgender, straight? Like, nah, like embrace people who have differences, who have a different skin color, who have
Yeah.
a different gender, different sexual orientation, a different ability. Like myself, when I said imperfections earlier, I was thinking of myself. I was thinking of like my hearing and my vision. I didn't mean to say that transgender people have imperfections.
But do you
It's like
think humans naturally are afraid of difference, and maybe that's why we have a hard time of acceptance? I agree with what you're saying, that once you get to know somebody on a more inner level, versus just, I guess, oh man, what's the word I'm looking for? Um,
superficial.
yeah, well, from their outside look, I mean, you see a person and we're very judgmental. I guess we would say we're a very judgmental society, and I think when we see people that are different than us, we're a little anxious, maybe a little afraid uh, to interact. But I think once we break that barrier and we start learning more about it, like you said, we then you open up and you start seeing that they're probably the people that you see different from you, that may look different on the outside, are so similar to you, in terms of their way of thinking and their inner life, basically. Does
Yeah,
that
like
make sense? Maybe I'm not explaining it correctly, but I
yeah, no, I get it. I see
yeah,
what you're saying.
and
And
I,
like when you
and I
and I,
want to. Sorry,
yeah, no, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I keep trying to cut in. So I guess one thing I wanted to point out, uh, eh, is that correct me if I'm wrong, but um, I'm pretty sure the whole like fear, the whole like fear, the whole like bias towards other groups of people, it comes from like it comes from the vestige of tribalism.
True.
Like at a, like at a time when I correct me, at a time where like we're our ancestors were a little less advanced, there was a lot of there's a lot of tribalism going on. There's a lot of divide going on, and also there's the vestige of conformity. There's also the vestige of conformity, of staying, of one having the constant psychological urge to stay the same or stay comfort, or you're just comfortable uh, being this particular area. And what makes us good people, I guess, what makes what makes us good human beings is that uh, get through the we can get through those barriers. We can how we can get through those barriers and recognize the differences and recognize that that's okay, and we don't need to be in our tribes. We can all be together.
Yeah, that's actually a brilliant observation. All right, because if you think about it, yeah, like the tribes back then that didn't have social media and all the other methods that we have of interacting with other tribes now. Let's just call them tribes for now. So back then our ancestors, they lived in like very isolated areas that were not, it wasn't like city and then the next city and that's the next city. It was just like very very separate. So when one of them came across the other and they looked very different, they were like, well, they're probably going to attack me and kill me and
Yeah,
take,
you feel
take everything.
threatened. Yeah, threatened right
So
away.
it was all right. So it was all about self-preservation, making sure that you looked the way that your tribe looked,
Yeah.
and to
Well,
know that that's yeah.
I
So
guess that would be similar to societal norms that we have today, right? I mean,
yeah,
wouldn't you reflect it to be in the same? Like we have societal norms that are taught, that you have to be this certain way.
right.
And
And that's what I think. Like you have, for example, the white Christian nationalists, right? So they see anybody that's different as a threat. And I think that social media and the way that the society has exploded in a way, like I don't know, even uh travel, right? Like now we can travel between countries and like meet other societies, has gone so fast compared to how it went before these technological advances that we had. Like we've only had these advances for like what 200 years, and humanity has been around for thousands and
yeah,
thousands of years.
it's just a
So if
blink.
we are just like in such a small uh part of the even the Homo sapiens history, like or modern humans that we have today, in this age of technology. So I think that the ability of technology to connect us with others hasn't yet caught up with our mental ability to connect with others, with people that are different than us. Now, hopefully, maybe one day, this all of this technology mixing up of societies, like we're having right here, right now, will be beneficial for society, like being more accepting of other people's differences.
Yeah, because it gives us the ability to be able to have these type of conversations and to be able to, even if people aren't actually interacting with us right now, this will be available for people to come across and watch and to be educated and learn about this type of topic.
Yeah.
um, a lot of people are probably afraid to even discuss some of the things that we're talking about in terms of trans. And it shouldn't be considered a taboo thing, but as a society we make it taboo.
Yeah, like it's sort of mind blowing for me. Like you and I both have talked about this, how our own view of transgender people has changed and been shaped over time based on our experiences. And the fact that we always kept an open mind, even though we started from a point of having a more closed mind, is the way that everybody should attempt to be, aim
Yeah.
to be, right? Like that should be the goal. Like, hey, if I find out that I'm holding on to some idea that is a little bit close-minded, that is a little bit, harmful, and then I found out somebody is telling me, hey, look at this. There are so many factors that affect uh, gender, biological sex, not gender. Sorry. And that biological sex and gender are different things, where before I used to think that they were the same thing. It's like, keep your mind open and be open to changing it and to saying I was wrong. Saying that you were wrong is not a bad thing. Like
It's a
we
good thing.
shouldn't look at
Yeah.
it as being a horrible, terrible thing. It's actually a good thing to say, hey, you know what, I'm wrong and I can change my mind about it.
Yeah. And especially when it's a view that you might have held that was harmful to other people. I mean, to I think you're a bigger person if you can admit that you were wrong on something, on a view that you held. When we had a very, some, I don't know, there's some people you deal with when you try to have conversations with them, and they think you're trying to just push your views on them. You're not trying to, like, when I have conversations with people, I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to educate them so they can take that information and come to their own conclusion. But they need to be able to have an open mind when they're taking that information in. Because if you just have a closed mind when you're having a conversation with somebody on topics that are, not very agreeable sometimes, then you're going to come out with the same end thought, that you're never going to expand, you're never going to be able to change.
Yeah. And speaking of that, and differences, um, there's been a lot of push against smaller against minorities and groups of people. And one of the main things that Trump has been focusing on is immigration. So let's have a discussion about that. What do you
Oh, I have,
what are your
I
thoughts
have,
on that?
I mean, I just have like the whole, I have the whole leftist Bible against this fucking, against this dog shit. Um, there's no leftist Bible, but there, but I've never been so fucking mad. Um, when it came, I never, I never felt so viscerally angry when it comes to hearing on people he's deporting, the people he should, the people, yeah, the people he's deporting. He's just detaining random fucking people who are brown, or not white. Um, and it's fucking sickening, especially, especially, especially when you know that children, like especially in the asylums, children are involved. Like stuff, they're trying to make it through the, they're just trying to make it through the damn day in in those asylums, and Trump wanting to take that away is fucking sickening. And this is all this is all not mentioning the facts, the reality of immigrants in our country. They pay they pay more they pay more into social services than they take out. They commit less crime than the native born American. Uh, Immigrants assimilate in our culture pretty easily, but all of it is ignored by one fucking story about how one horrible guy happening to be an immigrant, uh, to, like killing somebody, and that
Yeah, in the
and it's
meantime, you have like these three uh, people that Trump pardoned who are white from the January 6th protest, like they take the insurrection. And three of them, within days of being pardoned, one of them got shot because he tried to shoot the police in a traffic stop.
In a traffic stop, yeah.
The second one is from here, from Houston, and he has a warrant for child sexual abuse charges. And the third one got arrested because she killed someone while driving drunk. It was a past charge, but yeah, still, she just got arrested for that. So it's like these were white people that are very on president pardon, and clearly criminals, and they're calling everybody else criminal just because they came here and wanted a better life for their families.
It's just a label that they try to give to immigrants, to try to it's a scare tactic to make the population scared, to think that these people are murderers and rapists, and they're coming to take our jobs, when all the illegal immigrants that I know being here in Texas, I mean, we have a lot of workers that are illegal, and all of them that I know are hard workers. Um, they're productive to members of our society
oh yeah,
here in the city. They're not looking to cause trouble. Sure, you do have a percentage of people that probably are committing crime, but in general, that's going to be in any population. You're going to have bad people. I mean, it's not a statistic that's worth grouping all the illegal immigrants
11
as,
million.
yeah, as all of them are rapists, or all of them are drug dealers, or all of them are, it's just, I don't know. It's very frustrating.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
there's
press
also things that
secretary. Yeah,
uh, sorry, there's also things I forgot to mention. Uh, like like you said, a lot of them are hard work. A lot of them are hard workers. They're the true fucking Americans here. Because they're the true fucking Americans here. Um, and to like deport them all not only costs a shit ton, which of course is probably going to raise the egg prices. You don't need to be an economist to know that. Um, but secondly, getting rid of them is getting rid of them would be worth billions of deficit, billions of debt, billions of debt. Um, yeah, and yeah, that's what I have to.
Yeah, I agree, Rogue Show. I agree.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, no, I was gonna mention that the press secretary had a conference, and she was claiming that everybody that was illegal immigrant was a criminal. And then there was somebody asking her, well, is the administration focusing on people with criminal backgrounds, and what is the percentage of people being detained who have a criminal record versus those who are just here illegally? And she was like, well, technically they're all criminals, so we are not going to different. This is something we are doing that Biden wasn't doing before. We are going to um, use the term criminal for everybody. So yeah,
Yeah, they're
it's
basically saying because they came, but that's not really the case either, because a lot of these that are actually here in the country right now, they came into the country based on the laws that we've had in place for people that are fleeing their own countries, when they're in danger. And we allow safe harboring to allow these immigrants to come in safely, to protect them. If they don't want that to happen, then you need to take the proper channels to change that law, basically, to say that we're not going to offer asylum.
Yeah, that is another thing that I'm always shaking my head at. Trump claiming that Mexico and other countries are sending um, immigrants from mental institutions. And what he means is asylum seekers. Because in this dumbass mind, he thinks that when they say asylum, they're talking about mental asylums, like the way that we used to define it, back in the day, back in the old days. Uh, so he's just so dumb that he doesn't understand the difference between a mental asylum and an asylum seeker, like somebody who's seeking protection because they are in danger in their country. It's just
Yeah.
man, blows my
So
mind.
we have Mike Howard saying, what, paying taxes? How fair is that? Everyone else pays them, even the ones doing correct. So I'm assuming he's saying that illegals are not paying taxes, but that's not true, because most of the illegals that are working here are using, yes, fake social security numbers, and that tax money is being taken out of their checks. And the majority of them are not filing their taxes on that and getting that money back. They pay taxes on local and state whenever you buy something.
Here's a fact, super quick. Undocumented immigrants paid 96 billion in federal, state, and local taxes in 2022. There's a fact
Yeah.
for you, Mike.
Yeah. Rogue Show might have some more information on that too, because he did bring that up.
Okay, we assumed. Can you please clarify then if we assumed? What did we assume incorrectly? So, yeah, Rosho, go ahead on your opinion on that.
I mean, it's once again they are once again like they're paying. They're still even if they're not paying taxes, they are still paying a shit ton of money. They're still paying a shit ton of money, and they're still helping the economy. They are still objectively helping the economy.
And
Especially
Yeah, they
like
are.
if they're
not to mention
like
that they are
if
doing the
they're
jobs that the average American is unwilling to do for a fraction of the cost of the payment that they will be getting it.
So Emily says, Mike, I know firsthand that immigrants pay taxes and contribute very greatly to our economy. Family that pays taxes and don't get returns because of status. Yeah, and that's true.
Yeah,
So Mike, oh, go ahead. Well, Mike is saying that there's many that do not because they deal in cash, and that's the same for Americans. There's so many Americans that deal in cash as well to get around the
Yeah.
tax system. So
Well, think about this, Mike. The illegal immigrants receiving that cash payment, where do they get it from, huh? Probably from an American citizen paying cash and not paying taxes.
yeah,
Big job.
Also, isn't President Trump is one of those people, like a lot of
Yeah,
billionaires,
true.
I presume, that don't pay their taxes. They'd rather evade them. They rather.
yeah.
Yeah,
What about all these big corporations that are not paying taxes? I don't know. That argument is just so invalid. To bring hatred towards illegal immigrants, to use that as a valid argument to say they don't pay taxes, to bring hate towards them, it's just not a valid argument in my opinion. But that's just the way I feel about it.
yeah.
It's just another way to degrade them and make them seem like they're horrible people. Like, oh, they're just like you say, they're stealing our jobs. All the illegal immigrants that I know that work very low paying jobs, that are they're not engineers, they're not computer programmers. I mean, there are custodians, they're working our farms, they're working in our restaurants. If you go into a kitchen in any of all these high class restaurants you like to eat at, who's going to be in there cooking the food? It's going to be Hispanic people, immigrants. It's going to be people that don't have residency.
Yeah, and I mean,
And one
if
of
you
the
think about it, these all of these places that hire undocumented immigrants do so in order to be able to pay them less than what they would pay their counterparts who are citizens. And if you were to have to hire citizens for those jobs, those companies will have to pay them a higher salary. They will lose their profits, and there will be lots of companies that will have to end up closing because they can't afford to pay the average American salary that the Americans expect. uh, Obviously, I'm not saying that we should be encouraging more illegal immigration, but we have to deal with what we already have. These people have already been here for many of them have been here for decades. They have families here. They're married to people who are perhaps citizens but have not gotten their citizenships yet. uh, they're married to other illegal immigrants as well. They have children who are citizens here with the birthright citizenship laws that Trump is also trying to take away.
Yeah, that's another thing.
um, that's another story. Yeah, but just the way that we did
Mike,
the Dreamers. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, RogueShow.
so Mike said, "I'm not against those who are doing. I'm not against pe- people who are like doing it correctly, or workers doing it correctly." I don't understand that point because are you saying that immigrants are doing it incorrectly?
No, I
Because
think
that's
he
obviously not the fucking
means.
case.
I believe he means for them to immigrate through the proper legal channels first, and then come work hard.
Yeah, so only legal
Okay,
immigrants.
there's
Yeah.
a simple solution. There's a very simple solution to that.
So it seems
Um,
that Mike
so
Hold on,
Mike
let
does get
Let
it.
RogueShow finish his
but
Yeah,
there's a very there's a very simple solution to that. That is making the legal process for immigrants easier.
yeah,
Like if you want them to become legal immigrants, then make that shit easier. Because I can guarantee that we have America has historically been the hardest on immigration. Like it's been or the hardest to like legal, at least one of the hardest to legally get in the country.
Yeah, they have very strict, and so they have there are very restrictive laws, even for getting your citizenship through the means that they currently have, like marriage or work. You have to prove that there is nobody here that could do that job in order for somebody to come from another country to apply for, I don't know, let's say an engineering job. Then that company has to prove that there is nobody else around in their city that could do that same job. So it's really hard for people to come and try to do that. Like, if it were for, in the case of people who do like the jobs that we were talking about earlier, like picking vegetables, you know, uh, construction, uh, restaurant work, and all of that, it would take so many people to fill those spots. And yeah, no. Okay, so it looks like Mike agreed. He said that if we deport everybody, then can you imagine how much we will have to pay a citizen to do that job? Like apples will be $20.
The solution is having immigration reform, and we've tried to do that for the last couple of administrations, but it never happens. And now we have so much division with the Trump administration. Any type of immigration reform that will actually be a good thing for the U.S. is not going to happen. The way that we're heading right now in terms of immigration under Trump's plan is just kick everybody out. And sadly to say, we're going to see a huge impact on the economy once this occurs, and it's already in the beginning stages. And we already know people are not showing up to pick vegetables. Farm owners are saying they don't have people to pick the produce. Um, in the industry I work in, we work with new home builds, and I drive through these new neighborhoods, and normally there's so many people parked on the streets you can't drive through because you have all these work vans and painters and people doing framing. The last week that I've driven through these neighborhoods, there's hardly any workers, um, because they're scared, and
Yeah,
that's gonna be a huge issue.
but that's what they're doing. They are using fear tactics to get people to sort of self deport,
Yeah.
to go to leave the country because they're so scared to be in public in any setting, to go to school, to go to shopping, to go to work, that they have no other option than to leave the country. And one of the fear tactics that I've seen is the whole Guantanamo Bay being set up as a staging, sort of, I don't know, you could consider it a camp, like a concentration camp type situation. Uh,
Yeah, well, Guantanamo Bay there, he's opening that back up. And I know me and you discussed this the other day, AJ, but I feel that I know you were concerned if he would be sending children and so forth to Guantanamo Bay. I believe it can hold 30,000 inmates, if I'm correct. I might have that number wrong, but I believe that's what I read the other day. But I feel it's more of a scare scenario that he's using for Guantanamo Bay.
Oh no, what I was asking you was, somebody I know was saying that her fear was that they will send adults there and use them, sort of
Oh,
like a
as
slave
labor.
labor.
Yeah, I don't see
But
that either because yeah.
you made a good point about the transportation issue. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Guantanamo Bay is way, away from the US. So I mean, if they were
yeah,
going to use them for slave labor, they would have to transport them back to the US, every day to do the
that's correct.
job. If they were going to do something like that, then they're going to start setting up camps, work camps, around the country in these different states where immigration is high, and then they'll round up the illegal immigrants and place them in these camps and use them for labor, which could be a possibility under Trump. I'm not saying that he will do that, but I wouldn't put anything past him at this moment.
But here's the thing. I was looking up some statistics, and I found out that President Trump deported less illegal immigrants in his 4 years presidency than Obama did. Obama actually deported more immigrants than any other president in American history. It was it was
Yeah, I saw that today.
only by like 100, couple thousand numbers. Like it wasn't like he was deporting millions or anything like that. I think it was 1.5 million or something like that he deported in each of his presidencies, Obama. And so, according to the numbers, uh, according to that data from the past presidencies, the current rate at which Trump is deporting people is not really more than what has been in the past. It could increase, obviously, but at this point it's very similar to what it was back then. So I think that they're using the media, they're using all these fear tactics, all
To
this
as a
wording.
showcase, basically, to make it seem like they're doing more than they really are.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. But I think it is more. It is a deterrent too. They're trying to make people that haven't migrated here yet be fearful to come, which I understand. That is a deterrent. I mean, if I was making my way, from South America, up to the U.S. border, and I see these things, I wouldn't want to come across the border because I would be afraid that I would get captured and sent to Guantanamo Bay, um, which I don't know. Again, we have to relook at our asylum laws, in terms of if we really want to deter people from coming to our border. As long as we have as long as we have asylum laws that allow people to, to leave their country of origin, whenever there's distress, um, people are going to continue to come. Um, but if we do change that law and don't allow people to seek asylum in the U.S., I mean, then that does actually hurt people when there really are people fleeing for their life. I mean, it turns into a humanitarian issue.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just there is just so much
One thing,
at stake and so
sorry,
much that he doesn't understand that he's doing. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, RogueShow.
I guess the very thing that we can take away from this is that if you if you want a proof of demons, you can make it. This is a very This is a very convincing argument. I'm not saying they're
That's a
actually.
good point.
I'm not saying they, yeah, I'm not obviously not saying they actually are like physically, but they they're so unfeeling. They're so unfeeling, and they're so unfeeling to the point. I, I don't know. I'm just like it just pisses it just pisses me off because once again we're talking about we're talking about children and families alike fleeing from violence from these countries, and with a and you get to and people like Trump and his entire goddamn administration uh, get to look them in the eye with a blank face and say, "Nope, go back." Or,
Yeah, like go
and
back. We're not
it's
going to help you. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, we're
Yeah, my brother's wife. My brother lives in Mexico. We're not from Mexico, but he lives there because his wife was from Mexico, and he got deported, and that's why they moved there, and she moved there with him because they both lived here in the U.S. And soon after that, she got kidnapped by some cartel people. Um, Luckily, she was freed, and then eventually she was able to come back to the U.S. But she had originally come to the U.S. because her whole life was at risk out there, and so my brother getting deported and having to take his family there put her back at risk and their kids. So she eventually had to move back to the U.S. She's a citizen here, and their kids as well. So she had to move back to the U.S. and he has to stay in Mexico like their family is completely broken apart because they gave him no pathway to become a citizen here, even though they were legally married and everything. They had issues with being able to meet the requirements. So it's like somebody said earlier, they make it so hard for immigrants who are even here, who have families here that are legal citizens, to be able to stay together with their families. And they're just toying with people's lives. It's horrible.
Yeah, yeah. So I see Mike is asking. He said, if we go into another country and break the law, what happens? We get locked up. Why should it be any different? As for fleeing, pretty sure U.S. is one of the biggest supporters of humanity aid.
There are a lot of questions there.
Yeah, there are.
Okay, let's go with one at a time.
Well, I feel like yes, if you go into another country and break the law, then you will have to suffer the consequences, depending on what what the ruling is
But
for breaking that law.
but here's the thing: other countries don't make it so hard for people to come in and become legal immigrants. Last week we had a show with two Canadian friends, one of whom is in the audience, Jason Freer and Justin, and they told us that there is literally a spot in Canada where you can just, I'm sorry, in the border, where you can just walk in and be like, "Hey, I want to become a citizen," or like, "Hey, I'm there's like somebody that I'm being threatened by in my country, which is the U.S., and I want to move here," and they welcome you and they give you a pathway to becoming a citizen. The U.S. does not have any type of things like that. If you try to go to other countries in, say, Europe, it is it's very similar. You can go in with your tourist visa, you know, with your passport, whatever. You go in the country and you say that you want to become a citizen, and they help you. So yeah, America uh, does have a really really strict um, requirements for people becoming citizens. But on the question that Mike had, whether if you go to another country and break the law, what happens? Yeah, sure. If you kill someone, if you I don't know, steal from someone, you're breaking big laws, you're gonna go to jail. If you enter the country illegally, many of those countries are not going to put you in jail for that.
I'd like to actually know the percentage of how many people that have entered into the U.S., how many of them are actually seeking asylum, and how many people have entered illegally without actually going through the asylum process. Because I mean that right there can actually show us if we do have open borders or not. I mean, I agree with what Joe just said from the Kentucky atheist, that we don't have open borders, because we really don't.
No, no.
You have to go through the whole process when you come to the border. Yes, there are some sections of the border where people do illegally cross, but from my understanding, the percentage of the people that actually come in that way is very small. The majority of the people that are coming across right now are seeking asylum.
So there's 335 million people in America. 11
11
million
million
are
illegal immigrants.
undocumented
Yeah.
immigrants. It may seem, when you say 11 million, it may seem like a big number, um, but it is not that. It's not like they're taking over the country. It's not like they're stealing all your jobs, and 11 million includes children and etc.
Oh,
Um,
oh yeah. There's like two. I was trying to think of like that. There's another talking point that says about how the immigrants are lazy and just um rely on the rely on social benefits or they rely on welfare. So how the fuck are you? So, I swear, people. I swear that. I swear to fucking God that. I swear to fucking God that they believe in that they're telling both they're stealing our jobs and they're not working and smooching off
Right? It can't.
welfare.
It's got to be one or the other, right? It can't be both.
Yeah.
You can't be unemployed
How the fuck
and
did?
still
Yeah.
working and still
How
in
does
a
that
job.
connect?
So I'm gonna answer another question that Mike has right here, and I'm gonna bring up my.
Uh-oh.
So Mike is asking if other countries are welcoming and it's against the law here, why keep coming here? So let me say something. The immigrants that Trump is deporting are people of color. All right, it's a focus on people that look like immigrants, that look Mexican, you know, any other type of Central North-ish American. And this is the United States. And this is Mexico, Central America, and South America. So geography is why people don't go to other places. If somebody from Mexico wanted to have a better life, they will not go south because those people are also wanting to go north to America. Mexicans are not going to go to Canada. Why? Because they will have to first cross the United States in order to get to Canada. Because yeah, they probably cannot boat all the way around. You know, Mexicans and Central Americans are also not going to the European countries that have these open borders because, again, big ocean. Yeah, geography is why.
What type of immigration do we have? I mean, I know that there was a huge, well, it was in the media years ago when, when Syria was being, bombed to smithereens and everything was going to shit there, and we had all these people seeking asylum from Syria, and they were going into all these other European countries, and at first I know they didn't want to take them in, but I know that they did start taking in quite a bit of them. Um, would that be considered? Were they saying they had open borders during that time? I guess I really need to look into that more to find out exactly how things are going with all of that. But I think it's that should be an interesting discussion to look into.
Uh, my piece. I guess probably my piece on this question of why come here. It's because it's because we're the goddamn we're the goddamn USA. I even though we market ourselves as the land of the free, home of the brave, or freedom of opportunity. A lot, and just so you know, a lot of people heard about us, especially especially Mexico, especially people coming in from Mexico. So if they're getting if they're getting killed and harmed in this country, and they hear about this great country, this great country way up there, what do you think they're going to go? They're, they're going to go to where they heard that they can at least have an opportunity to not fucking die. And that's my two piece. That's my piece as well.
Yeah, people are just looking for a better life. These people that are migrating and towards the U.S. They're coming here for a better life. They're not coming here to you know to rape your children or to kill you. They're coming here to make a better life for their family. Yes, there is a small percentage of people that are coming here possibly to commit crime, um, but the percentage is so small to group everybody together that's migrating here, um, seeking a better life. The percentage of people that are criminals in that group is so minute.
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to look at statistic, but I didn't find it. Um, yeah, I'm gonna tell a little story. Story time.
Story time. Okay.
So, warning, I am, for those watching and looking for illegal immigrants to deport and report and deport, I am no longer an illegal immigrant, but I once was, and my whole family was. So we were really lucky that we were able to come at a time where Argentina had what's called a visa waiver, which means that we didn't need a visa in order to enter the United States. So what had happened in my country during the time before we decided to move here was that the government was so corrupt and the whole country was in such a mess that we had 4 presidents in 2 weeks. And so obviously everybody was struggling and everybody was afraid for their lives and for their future. So my dad sold everything that he had in an auction. Like he had a really nice house, but he sold everything. We woke up the next morning. There was like my sister and I had one mattress on the floor that we were sharing. There was like we didn't have a stove, we didn't have a refrigerator or anything because everything was sold in the auction. The house was pretty much empty. There was like a kitchen table and some like lawn chairs inside that we brought in, and one of those like tiny little TVs that we just kept because it was so cheap that it wasn't worth selling it. So I woke up that morning and to my mom looking like she'd seen a ghost, and she just said, "Come look at the TV. Come watch what's on the news or something." And I walk over there and I see the planes crashing into the twin towers. Right? It was like we had no words at that point. We didn't know what was gonna happen to us. Like, were we gonna stay in this country where like we had 4 presidents in 2 weeks, and we didn't know like whether we were gonna have a meal next month, or were we gonna move to the U.S. We already had our plane tickets. We already had our passports. Like we were ready to travel. And all of a sudden, the U.S. started saying that they were gonna close, the borders and this and that. And we came here with the clothes on our backs and a suitcase, like a very small suitcase, each one of us. Uh, we were extremely lucky that we were able to fly and be allowed in the country. And like I don't know, like a month later, they closed. They removed that visa waiver option for Argentinians, and now Argentinians need a visa. So we came here from one fearful situation into another extremely scary situation because all of Americans were really scared after 9/11. So I mean, like the point of my story here is that the people that are moving to the US are not coming here on vacation. They're not coming here like, let me go steal some jobs. Let me just make their life miserable. People are coming here with true, deep fear, trauma, emotions, and not knowing what's going to happen to them. What are they going to do next? We lived with some random family that we had never met before in their house for like several months until my mom and dad could get a job. The jobs that they could get were the type of jobs that we were just talking about, like hard manual labor that Americans were not really wanting to take, like the leftover jobs, basically. So yeah, like I understand that you don't. Yeah, go ahead, RogueShow.
I just want to say thank you very much for sharing your story. Um, and I'm very sorry that you and your family had to go through traumatic events such as that. And on this, and obviously 100% agree that immigrants are not just coming here for vacation or smooching off the social welfare and stealing our jobs, of course. Um, also, I want to I want to respond to Mike, who said if someone breaks into your home and commits something, uh, so if you can find that comment.
Yeah, let me see. Here we go. I'll put it up on the screen. He said, so if someone breaks into your
So
home because yours is better than what they have, meaning anyone, by your logic, it's okay.
let me let me ask you this, Mike. Did you be honest with yourself? Did you think that some tiny little space of yours that you own, like your private property, is any way comparable to an entire fucking country?
It's not.
Do you think? Did you actually think it's those were actually comparable? Like,
Yeah,
be real. They are not.
it's not. I agreed with what Joe with the Kentucky atheist said. I mean, they're not the same thing.
Yeah, I think Mike is trying to say that he doesn't hate immigrants. That all the immigrants he knows are the hardest working people that he will ever meet. However, I would like to ask Mike, those illegal immigrants that he knows, that he so much respects their work ethic. If they were to be caught by ICE, would he be okay with them being deported? If it was me, for example, let's say that I was an illegal immigrant at this moment, which I am not. I'll clarify again. Don't send the ICE to me, please. But if it was, well, no, okay, let's just go with Mike. If your child were to marry an illegal immigrant, and that illegal immigrant partner was deported, would you would you be okay with that? And I mean, would you be okay even with your child having to move to their country of their illegal immigrant, or would you rather the country gave them an opportunity to have a path for citizenship?
Yeah, go ahead and answer that question, Mike.
I don't know. He
Um,
said we don't get to choose which one people follow. I don't understand that comment.
Okay, he's
but
talking. He said that he's using an analogy to say that breaking a fucking law is breaking a fucking law, and that he doesn't get to choose which
Which
fucking law.
laws to follow? Okay, I get it. That's what he's
we're
saying.
not saying that.
Conclusion.
We're
But
not saying that. I don't know what the point of you saying that
actually,
is. 'Cause we're not saying breaking the law isn't breaking the law. We have to
So
deal with people in an individual. Sorry.
but we
no,
but
no, I
we
was gonna say I
could.
think you have different levels of laws though. That's the same thing. Like, okay, you speed, you're breaking the law. You get a speeding ticket. You don't get deported. I mean, you have to look at the classification of the crime. Coming across the border, okay, let's look at the situation. What did you come across the border for? Were you fleeing asylum, from harm? Were you seeking asylum? Were you coming here? Are you, when you come to the border to, to claim asylum, if you have a criminal history, in the country you're fleeing from, then yeah, maybe don't let that person in. But if you find out that the people that are here don't have any type of criminal background, you have to give these people that are here the opportunity to become a legal immigrant. And as everyone has said already, the system is fucked right now. You don't have the ability to do that.
But here's another thing. Okay, we can't say that all of these laws are all objective, that they're all, like you said, all of them require the same level of punishment. If you look, let's take the example of the famous commandment, thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not kill should not be an objective moral law. it should not be that you shall never ever ever kill anyone for
Yeah.
any fucking reason.
But then they
Like,
say,
if your life is at stake, if somebody comes at you and points a gun at you and you have the ability to defend yourself and you have to take their life, should you expect to have the same punishment as as the person that came and tried to kill you? Like, if they had killed you, should they have the same punishment when they were the ones that threatened your life first? Like, no. Like, they're gonna go away for murder. You are probably gonna be okay on self-defense.
yeah, there's
Like,
there's so many different variables that it comes to it. It's not just a one size fits all when it comes to immigration. And that's the thing. I mean, it's these type of open conversations we're having right now are really good. It's something that we should be having and discussing instead of just categorizing all these people as criminals. And that's not the way to do it. And unfortunately, that's the way the Trump administration wants to take care of the immigration issue.
And plus, the point I was like trying to make is that we aren't saying breaking the law isn't breaking the law. Um, we we have to deal with. Of course, we have to deal with. Uh, we have to deal with the suspect on an individual basis. On an individual basis, or we have to evaluate this. You obviously have to evaluate the situation, like I said, evaluate the crime, if the punishment fits the crime. But also, you're missing the point, or I think you missed the point like several times now. That breaking the law, breaking the law means breaking the law for Native born Americans who do who statistically do more crime. So I think you're kind of missing the point. That I think you're kind of missing the point there, Mike. Not you guys, Mike.
So Mike says, so again, as citizens of this country, we need to follow the laws. Yeah, we do, but we don't always follow the laws,
Yes.
and sometimes we get a ticket, or sometimes we pay the price for it.
And the majority of the immigrants follow the majority of immigrants do follow the law.
yeah, Anjar um, makes a good point. She said illegal immigrants who break the law are deported. You're not going to stop crime by preventing immigration. Citizens commit crimes too.
Yeah,
Um, like I said, my brother got deported because he committed a crime. Okay, he didn't pay child support. That was the crime. But still, he got caught by immigration law, ICE, and sent back. So, like, they are looking. They have already been doing this before Trump uh, brought out his immigration crap to the forefront. They were already focusing on people who were here illegally and had criminal records. They were already arresting those people. But
yeah,
now they
yeah.
have added every single fucking hardworking mom that works at the I don't know,
Cleaning
7-Eleven or
houses, or
whatever.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, cleaning houses, exactly. Like, they put everybody in the same bag as the drug dealers and the murderers and the child rapists, and it's not at the same level. It should
it's
not
not.
be at the same level of
Yeah,
punishment. Did they break a law? Sure, like you said earlier, they came here, by illegal means. So figure out what
yeah.
is a
Well,
fair pathway
well,
to go
like you
from
said,
there.
AJ. So they have already been enforcing. If okay. So AJ just gave the story that she was an illegal immigrant. So she overstayed her visa when she was here. When we went through the process to get her residency, we had to pay a fine because
Yeah,
she overstayed her visa. So in order to process her application, we had to pay a big fine in order for them to process it.
yeah,
So
that was fair.
that was fair, yeah, and that's completely fine.
But I paid taxes before that.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
she didn't get anything back for the money that you put in on taxes either. So yeah, I mean, yeah, Mike, we agree. If you commit a crime, you should have some type of
Fair punishment.
fair punishment. Yeah, exactly.
Locking everybody up in Guantanamo Bay is not a
No,
fair
not fair
punishment.
punishment. That's how you treat terrorists, or you treat, Guantanamo Bay is a whole different system. It's out of the United States. There's no jurisdiction
Like,
over there. They can do whatever the hell they want to those people once they send them to Guantanamo Bay.
yeah, somebody mentioned this earlier. They said Guantanamo Bay does not hold. Oh no, wait, never mind. That was not the comment I was looking for. Um, I'm trying to scroll back, but I can't find it. It was that Guantanamo Bay doesn't have the same humanitarian, the same rules basically
Yeah,
that the U.S. has to follow regarding the treatment of the prisoners, and so they can basically do, and they do anything they want. They treat them like slaves. They just like treat them like subhumans.
So Mike says, so based on what you said, AJ, Obama deported more than others. So why are we all upset about Trump deporting people, basically?
Oh well, because of what we just mentioned a second ago, the difference between the type of people that they're deporting. Obama was focused on deporting people who had criminal records, who
Yeah.
were here doing criminal things,
Yeah, committing criminal acts. Exactly.
like violent criminal acts, like drugs. I don't know. Yeah, even
And
like I
like,
say, not even violent. Like I say,
yeah.
my brother didn't pay child support.
Yeah.
Of course,
But
that's
like you said, I mean, that's been ongoing. It's not a new thing that Trump's doing now in terms of deporting criminal illegal alien immigrants. But the issue we have is him deporting people that are seeking asylum, people that have been here for years. They have children that are citizens now because they were born here. They're going to school, and then you want to deport their parents and leave the kids here without parents, and then you have to send those kids back with the parents, and they've lived their whole life here. I mean, that's the whole issue with the Dreamers Act as well, that Trump has tried to destroy. You have we have so many kids that have went through our education system. We've paid tax dollars for these children to be educated. They've gone to college, and yet we want to deport them. Why are we going to do that? Give them the ability to become to have residency, so we can actually use them in our workforce. Those kids can be engineers. Those kids can be doctors. Those kids are going to be a productive citizen to our society.
Yeah, and but actually now they're even trying to take away their education. Um, I think it's Oklahoma. I could be wrong. If somebody could correct me, but I think it was Oklahoma. Just passed a law that will require all schools to demand that any child being enrolled has proof of citizenship, which wasn't the case before. So, yeah, illegal immigrant kids could go to school before they currently can, but now they will not be able to.
I guess Mike wasn't on when we had the whole gender conversation earlier, because now he's bringing up that topic that we've already discussed. So I guess he can go back after the show's over and watch that part.
Oh yeah, we did discuss that. I could be wrong, but I think what Mike is trying to say that oh, excuse me, sorry about that. I don't know. I guess he can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's trying to say that Trump isn't just doing harm with the immigration thing, but also with the gender laws. I don't know. Is he for these changes in gender law, or is he against them? I'm not sure.
Let us know, Mike. Are you for the gender law changes? Or are you against them? That would be good to know.
You just said Mike. He wants you to smile.
Hmm.
Just like we tell women to smile. I'm glad that finally somebody is telling a guy to smile the way men tell
Oh,
women to
okay.
smile.
So Mike says we're correct. I'm assuming he's saying that he is against the changes, or he is for them. Can you
I don't
clarify
know.
that, Mike?
Well, I asked 2 questions, so I don't know which one was correct.
Okay.
Not bad. He's pointing out that there are other things. Oh, so he thinks that changing the biological sex to only male or female is not good. Glad to hear that.
Okay. Well, you're gonna have a lot of
I'm
people
sorry. I'm
in this
sorry.
chat disagree with you on that.
I'm sorry, Mike. I'm sorry, Mike. You. I'm sorry, Mike, that you're getting stuck on this whole immigration thing. But proud of. I'm proud of you that you also recognize. You recognize, hopefully, based on based on the research you've done. Right? If you've done research, I'm glad you recognize that doing only two sex, just having only two sexes, ignoring everyone else, or ignoring trans people and intersex people is bad. I'm glad you recognize that.
So
Yeah,
we have
that's always a good thing.
so they're asking what's better, ice cream or chocolate? It's a very pressing political question. Just to give a little bit of fun in the chat.
Chocolate.
Ice cream, ice cream,
I,
Next.
because you look. Here's my political statement. If you have chocolate, not everyone likes chocolate, right? But there are different flavors of ice cream.
yeah.
So ice cream has more variety. Ice cream has more variety uh, when it comes to its flavors. And come on, who doesn't like cold desserts?
Well,
You,
I will argue that your assessment of it just means that ice cream is more utilitarian, not necessarily better. I still
Uh-oh.
vote
I'm arguing
chocolate.
that it's better. I'm arguing that it's better because of its wider variety, because it's more utilitarian.
I'm gonna go with ice
Right?
cream, but with chocolate Oreos in it, so cookies and cream.
Well, I do like Oreos. Yeah, I would say that's probably like one of my favorite desserts.
Now the real debate starts with cake versus ice cream.
Cake, yeah, I don't really like cake that much.
Cake and ice cream together though are good.
I guess ice cream cake.
But yeah, if I could have an ice cream Oreo cookie cake, then that's my favorite
Uh,
all day long. All right, what where are we going next?
I approve this message.
yeah, we got a little sidetracked. I mean, there was just like the other topics I had to talk about were things like some of the rules that Trump passed recently. One of them it is, I guess, connected to the DEI issues. Is regarding education, and apparently on Wednesday he signed two executive orders. One of them was a almost 5 pages uh, order that's focused on how schools can teach race, gender, and American history. So basically, it prevents schools from recognizing transgender identities. They can only teach the male and female binary. They cannot teach about structural systemic racism. They cannot teach um, unconscious bias or white privilege. So if they use any of that wording, they will be threatened with removal of federal funding. Interesting.
It's pretty harsh.
Yeah. The second order that he signed was basically directing several federal agencies to look for ways to expand access to private school vouchers, which they called school choice. Now, Joe and I talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
I have covered this topic a lot on the nonprofits show that I do with the ACA, and there are so many states trying to pass this school choice laws. And what school choice means is simply having kids from public schools, giving them vouchers to cover the cost of allowing them to go to a private school. The problem is, one, the majority of kids in public schools that are lower income cannot afford the full cost of a private school tuition. So those vouchers are not very useful to them. The people that benefit the most from these vouchers are people who make more money. So the rich, again, the rich in public schools,
Yeah.
they cannot quite completely afford going to a private school, but now they can because they get the vouchers. And where do they go? Private schools are 77% around the country
Religious schools.
Catholic
Hmm.
and Christian. So it's basically a laundering of taxpayer money
To
into
private
the
religious
Catholic.
institutions, yeah, which is not
Yeah.
right at all. It's not.
Oh yeah.
Also, I want to comment. Also, I
Yeah.
really
Exceptionally average said
there's
it. Yeah. Go ahead.
there's two things. There's two things I want to comment on. Um, Firstly, the so what? It's sickening that they were. It's so sickening that they won't teach. That they would just uh thre- threaten you if you like teach about unconscious bias and specific racism, which, by the way, is American fucking history. The problem is like, what is wrong with teaching? What is wrong with teaching that? Like, it seems like it, it was like necessary. In fact, it seems like kind of necessary to teach. Like, hey, hey, we have historic, we have historically uh, oppressed these group of people. Oppression is bad. Oppression is bad. Even like, and sometimes we have unconscious, and sometimes we have biases toward people that we sometimes can't really put a finger on. Those are like normal things. Those are like normal things or normal subjects that you can talk about. That you can educate kids to make them better people. Like that, it's so sickening that he would threaten people for just teaching basic human fucking decency, and factually correct history. Um, Also, he, I, Mike said, finally, not, I think not based on race. Brother, brother, brother. It's not removing those is entire removing those subjects is entirely going to be race fucking based.
Oh yeah.
If you
Absolutely. It's whitewashed
if you think
history.
yeah, it's white. Yeah, you're right. It's whitewashed history. It's saying we did nothing wrong. We did nothing wrong to these group of people. We're angels.
Exactly.
But they're just but these guys they're just doing crime just because they want to. Like that's what you fucking get. That's what you get by not teaching people this vital part of our history.
Yeah, like the way is um
A ra-
um
a race based
yeah, go ahead.
white people
My
superior.
thoughts.
It's race based white people are superior type of fucking mentality. That's what you get. That's what you get for like. So I strongly disagree that this is not going to be race based, or this is not going to be like not race based.
Yeah, it's gonna be completely. I mean, I agree with both of you. It's gonna make things like just the opposite of what Mike's saying.
Uh, yeah, no, the point I was gonna make was that also, my thoughts were all over the place. Sorry, I couldn't
Put them
make it.
together.
Yeah, but what RogueShow was just talking about. It's the same way that the whitewashed history regarding, the discovery of America, Thanksgiving, like we make it into a whole big celebration, and it was actually like a massacre of Native people, Native Americans, right? But it's like, yeah.
Oh, Mike was talking about affirmative action. Or Mike was bringing up the whole. He was basically like bringing up the whole talking point that affirmative action is based on race. It's not the case. It's not the fucking case. It is affirmative. Like you probably haven't been here for. Okay, so you probably haven't been here. I'm happy to. I probably haven't been here, Mike, but for the like first part of the show. But I'm happy to explain again. So affirmative action is not. Affirmative action is not like, oh, he's black. He gets the job. It's people with similar or identical credentials, um, and those two people getting evaluated, like two or more, um, with similar credentials. All right. However, there's going to be a difference. That difference is their cultural background. That difference is going to be their background. One of them might be there might be a rich guy. There might be like a rich white guy or something. Or hell, they both can be white guys. Let's say like there's a one rich white guy. Okay, he has a similar credential to a poorer white guy. Um, how affirmative action works is that the poorer white guy is more likely going to get the job, not only because he has similar credentials, but he probably has a higher work ethic. He's probably because he's probably constantly fighting and working to get out of poverty. So affirmative action. So that's how affirmative action works.
Uh, but let me just clarify that Trump completely removed um, the laws that prevented discrimination of any kind based on sex, gender, race, we say ability, or sexual orientation. So let me ask you this, Mike. I asked this question earlier, but now in the United States, if Trump's executive order goes through to where it removes all of these DEI protections, a white, straight, Catholic male can be discriminated against because he's straight, because he's male, because he's Catholic, and I forgot the other one, because he's white. All right? So, would you be okay with that?
Yeah, as you were saying, if that person was the most qualified, but yet he wasn't given the position because he was white and a Christian, right? You're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Based solely on those things.
Yeah.
The current wording of Trump's new anti-DEI laws say that anyone can be discriminated and not given a job because of their religion, because of their race, could be white, could be Christian, because of their sexual orientation, could be straight, or because of their gender identity, like whether you're male or female. So no
It's going to open up.
qualifications. Yeah.
I don't think they see it from that viewpoint, but that's a completely valid thing that can occur based off those,
removal of
those
the
row guards
protection.
being removed. Yeah, for sure.
One thing I forgot about to mention about affirmative action is the reason why you're hearing the reason why Mike you're hearing all this stuff like about how black people are how black people just because they're black or you're hearing the talking point about black people um, just getting the job because they're black. That is one thing you need to understand about that is why people bring up racist affirmative action is because if if you read history, like one of the people commented to you, like if you should study redlining. Um, Black people in the '60s have historically been disenfranchised, and those and that same disenfranchisement is still linked. It's hard to believe, but that still lingers on. Right? That is still lingering on. People who have been redlined. Once again, you should look it up. People who have been redlined are still affected. They're still they're still not. Uh, they're still having to fight through poverty because businesses decided, or whoever decided not to fund people in those red lines or make their they decided just not to help them. And so a lot of people, like a lot of people who are black and who've been disenfranchised, um, are probably have same credentials. Probably have like similar credentials as a rich white guy. But the difference is they had to fight through they had to fight through poverty to get to try to get that job or to get that position in college. Does that make sense? Like,
I follow you.
Yeah, yeah, it did make sense. It totally makes sense. So there's a comment from Mike again. It says that their sexual orientation is their business, and that is a great point. But so should be their race. It shouldn't be anything that has to do with whether they get hired or not. And so should be their, whatever they have in their underwear. Why do you care about what they got in their underwear if they're qualified, right?
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't know if I should say it. I'll leave it alone.
Yeah. Jason Freer makes a great point. Wait for the backlash of not being the right type of Christian when it comes to hiring practices. Yeah, like if you are not the right type of Christian, maybe the Christian nationalists will not want you to work for them, so they can make that discrimination act. So we're
yeah, what
hearing
if
that
you're
there's a
Pentecostal?
plane crash. Oh yeah, Pentecost, right?
Yeah,
There
what
are
if you're
two.
Pentecostal? What if the moment what if the moment you start speaking tongues, because you got a raise, you get kicked the fuck out?
Yeah, like if your flavor of Christianity is to water down, then you're not allowed. Um, well, we're hearing in the chat that there was a plane crash reported, but it seems like it's a small, uh, like a
It was a
private
small
plane,
private jet.
possibly.
Yeah, which
Yes,
doesn't make it
possibly.
any less severe. Which it looks like it crashed into a residential area, so it looks like it's very breaking news. So there's not a lot of
Yeah, I'm
details
sure there'll be
on injuries and
something.
so forth on the ground, which is sad. Two crashes within a week. Less than a week.
Yeah, yeah. No, I try to look up. Yeah, it says that it happened in a neighborhood shortly after the plane took off, and there's a couple injuries and two people on board. So yeah, it was six on board.
Yeah. Uh, Hopefully Trump doesn't do another press conference and start blaming
Oh my
DEI
goodness,
again.
that is a very big
Yeah,
possibility that that's gonna happen. Unfortunately, but I'm surprised that we are finding out about these things because I mean, Trump has done a communication pause on so many agencies like the FDA, the CDC, the NIH. So yeah, if
And
you if
blocking
you get
communication with
any,
the World Health Organization. There's so many dangerous things that Trump has put into action that we haven't even discussed this evening. It just goes to show you the depth of how many things he's already done in less than 2 weeks in office. I can only imagine where our nation sadly is going to go if we don't continue to educate everybody, to stay vocal, and to keep up to date on exactly what he's trying to push in terms of their agenda. Um, Project 2025. Before the elections, we had a show. RogueShow was actually one of the guests where we discussed that, and I think that we are seeing this playbook um, playing out exactly how we discussed it. Sadly, many people fell for Trump's bullshit when he said he didn't have any association with Project 2025
Yeah.
and didn't know anything about it. Uh, American people fell for it, and I think a lot of people are about to start feeling the wrath of making that decision to vote for him, being promised cheaper eggs just for that. And now we see communication cut off when we do have one of the largest uh, issues in
Avian
terms of the
flu.
avian flu spreading and killing, and these farms having to kill all these chickens, unfortunately. And we also have one of the biggest outbreaks of tuberculosis right now,
Yeah.
and that's
And
not even
nothing,
even hearing anything
nothing.
about that because communication is cut off.
They
Um,
cannot post on social media. They cannot post on websites. They cannot do press releases or using any kind of communication. But it, um, yeah, like you said, like the food recalls, the avian flu updates, all of that is close to them. They can't even do that.
yeah, it's a
Um,
national blackout basically.
yeah, there is this one advisory group called the CDC Health Alert Network Advisory, and this one informs doctors and public health officials about urgent health issues, like you said, tuberculosis or any type of disease outbreaks, and uh, like we had with the coronavirus, and they even doctors are now unable to receive that necessary information. But it didn't just affect communication because it's also a financial uh, block, and they are not allowing anybody in any of these, like we said, the Center for Disease Control, the FDA, and the NIH, the National Institute of Health, which runs the majority of our clinical trials and a lot of the research for, say, I don't know, cancer research. And they cannot do any spending. They had to uh, cancel a recent, what was it, like a conference, a major conference that they were having in California, because they didn't allow anybody to fly on government funding, and also because they couldn't do any type of communication. So they had to cancel that. And there are a lot of clinical trials that are not being allowed to buy any of the supplies that they need. Like if they run out of, say, syringe or like the test tubes to take blood, they can't buy anymore. They're gonna have to completely restart all of these clinical trials, all of this constant research, and they are doing this allegedly to see how much wasted money there is. And they're wasting all this money, like they're wasting all these people's times and effort. There's people that actually travel to clinical research sites to stay there. They travel from different states, um, and yeah, like the fact that they don't even care about all of these things that they're affecting is just, it's mind blowing. All because they might save a buck here or there. Like they could have done all
Yeah,
this without stopping all this communication. Yeah,
there's people, and I really there is there's also there's a people who voted for Trump that you should, but it's I don't know why, but I find it much more frustrating with the people who didn't vote.
yeah,
I find myself more frustrated with those people than people who voted for Trump. Because at least with Trump voting for Trump, you can argue that they've been misled because it's obviously, but in the data, there's a lot of voter regret right now. Um, so it's people being misled voting for Trump. Like I can understand that, but the people who didn't vote, uh, this is this is what you get. This is what you get. Like there's it the common lefty art or the common argument for leftists. Like I'm a leftist myself, obviously. The common argument that these lefties that don't vote uh, make is that, well, I don't want to vote for genocide. Well, congratulations, you still voted for genocide. Congratulations, you still voted for genocide. Because the only person who is advocating for ceasefires were Democrats. We're fucking Democrats. And Trump told Netanyahu uh, to ignore those initiatives for ceasefire. So
Yeah.
there's that. And second, you don't get. Let's say you were. Let's say you're correct. Both people are kind of both people are both parties are genocidal. You still don't get the moral grandstand because right, you still don't get the moral grandstand and say, oh, my hands are clean from all this because I didn't vote for genocide. That's that's great. You're just as competent as a single issue voters. Um, you're just as competent as a single issue voter because
Yeah.
because there are more issues at hand uh, than Palestine here.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
Yeah, single issue voters
as
are
we
a huge
mentioned in the
problem.
show, yeah, as we mentioned in the show, like trans people are under attack, immigrants are under attack right now, and even minorities are, are under attack. Just because you have this one, just because you have this one issue that you can't, that you just couldn't decide to deal with later, um, you decided not to vote, and now we have this, and we now have this rotten tangerine fuck trying to trying to make his 1930s Germany. Like shame on those people. Shame on the people who didn't vote because of that, because they wanted the moral grandstand.
Yeah, real quick, I'm gonna point out that uh, Trump won by like 2 million votes. It wasn't like it was a major win. All right, 77 million people voted for Trump, and 75 million voted for Harris, and 70 something million registered voters that were uh, qualified to vote did not vote.
Didn't vote. Yeah.
So, technically speaking, Trump got 1/3 of the vote. Harris got 1/3 of the vote, and 1/3 of the voters did not vote. So, yeah, just
And that's
wanted to point that out because,
that's a huge problem. People not voting, based on one one ideology. I don't know. The one It's wild. It's wild to think that many people don't vote. I mean, because they feel that either vote is not, is I understand that a two-party system is horrible. Okay, I do understand that.
yeah,
Um, we should have um, we should have more than two parties. Like I think that is a problem. But then when you have third parties that come in, um, it causes a problem too, because people are like, oh, I'm never going to vote for the third party because they can't win, and so you don't vote third party. Third party candidates aren't given the same airtime. They aren't allowed to be in debates and so forth. There's just so much that keeps us consolidated to a two party system here in the United States, and that's a huge issue.
yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I don't know. I think we we are almost at 3 hours. I could really go on a couple more hours talking about the bullshit that we've been put through, and it's only been like not even 2 weeks. It's gonna be 2 weeks on Monday, so we're not even at the 2 week mark. So I'm pretty sure we're gonna be able to have plenty more of these shows in the future.
Yeah, I hope you
Um,
definitely come back, Rogue Show. I love talking politics with you.
yeah.
I
Um,
I love being on. I love fucking being on here. Like I get into about like because making video making videos for me. Um, I'm very prone to procrastinating. I'm very I'm very prone to procrastinating, and making videos is kind of making videos is kind of tedious with the editing and making sure you record, make sure your audio is good, um, and not messing up your lines as much. Uh, so getting to be on here and like speaking my piece and getting to converse with you guys, and even Mike, yes. Um,
we tolerate
I
Mike
love
around here.
Yeah, we tolerate
yeah
Mike.
I love
We
being
don't we don't accept him.
yeah
We
I
just
love being
tolerate
on here.
Mike. Yeah.
All
Hey,
right.
you got anything else for us then, AJ, or how are we looking?
Well, I mean, those were like all of the main, topics. We could
Yeah.
still talk about tariffs if you wanted to, like,
That needs a whole show itself. But for those who don't know,
right?
tomorrow, starting February 1st, there's going to be 25% tariff on Mexico and a 25% tariff on Canada. So that should be interesting to see how things go, uh, in terms of pricing here.
Right. Yeah. So I think Mike said you guys love me. Yeah, we love and accept you, Mike.
We love and tolerate you.
Yeah, we tolerate
Patricia.
you.
Glad
Well,
to hear. He said he'll be back when Rose Show is back on the show. That's all right. We're gonna have to book you in the next few weeks then.
we need to have Mike on the show.
Yeah, I'll be
Yeah,
glad.
Mike should come on the show.
yeah. Let's let Mike come on the show so he can share some of his ideology on his views.
And
Yeah. Again,
and
anyone that
we can fight
yeah
Mike.
anyone that wants to come, you could find Mike. He said, cool.
They could have a hardcore
There
debate.
it
I
is.
think I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, the debate will be interesting. All right, that will be fun. Yeah, but I was gonna say, if anyone who wants to come on the show, we are very respectful, very accepting, and if they don't want to be on camera, they are free to not be on camera and do just the voice. Uh, I mean, everybody's welcome. You
Yeah,
can do
definitely open to that for anybody.
political or religious debate. It's always fun. So you guys can find RogueShow on his channel, which the name of the channel is listed right under his face. RogueShow 296. Wait, is it 296 or 2964? I thought it was 2964 or something. I could be wrong.
It's 296. That's what the at says.
Okay. Pragmatic posted it earlier in the main chat as well. She did post a link to his page.
Oh yeah. Oh, I forgot today's Friday. Truth Wanted was on. I just saw it on my.
Oh yeah, it's 8 o'clock. Truth Wanted.
Yeah, this place is fun. This place is more fun.
Hey, appreciate
Right.
that. Hey, thanks for everybody that's hung out with us for these 3 hours. It's been a great show. I think we've had some really great in-depth conversations. It's always fun to do these type of shows. Um, I feel like I've been getting more into it. I'm starting to feel more comfortable talking live on camera. I was a little bit shy at first. If y'all haven't checked out my channel, give me a like as well. Cognitive Echo on YouTube.
Yeah, and you guys can go and check out both of the
Uh,
channels for
yeah, I
Rogue
need to
Show.
go. Yeah, I need to go raise your channel too, Joseph. I also need.
Yeah.
To, yeah,
Appreciate that, Rogue Show.
I already. Yeah, I already need to. I also need to. Well, I also need to like leave a lot of comments for AJ too.
Hey, feed the
Yeah,
algorithm. Feed
sometimes
the
I'll
algorithm.
just
Yeah.
write just like random
Yeah,
comments. Yeah.
I need to feed all your algorithms. Like, that's my presidential uh, promise or something.
Yeah. And I'm
My
sorry, Roadshow,
inauguration
man.
speech.
I missed the on the Discord channel for the ACA. I was gonna be on the news chat on the news articles 2 weeks ago, but then I had a scheduling conflict. I didn't get to do it. So I'm hoping to sign back up on that, and maybe I'll be on one of the nights that you're on as well.
Yeah, I've been trying to find one that you were on. We wanted to find the one that you were on.
I'll let you know then, man. I have to look at the sign up sheet and check my schedule, and maybe we can coordinate to be at the same time.
Yeah, we can talk to
Yeah,
John.
Yeah.
John likes me, so he'll do it for me. I'll ask him for a favor. Yeah, no, last like I think it was last week. He had to step out for because he didn't feel good. So I was like, hey, I'll fill in for you. Like we're good. We're on good terms. So, as I mentioned earlier in the show, we're gonna have quite a few shows coming up. We have, let me check my calendar super quick. I think the first one's February 8th. We're gonna have Secular Rarity. Then the 15th, we have Kelly Laughlin and Eli Slack for Kelly's birthday celebration. And the 19th, which is a Wednesday night, we're going to have Objectively Dan from Truth Wanted, and we're going to be talking about veganism. And
Nice.
then that's going to be fun. And then, well, like the morality of veganism, whether atheists should be vegan. Should be an interesting conversation. And then February 22nd, we're going to have Punk Apostate, Brent Lee. So that
Nice.
should be fun. I
Nice.
mean, and if anybody wants to check out our past shows, like we did with Jason Freer and Justin from Skeptic Spin last weekend, I mean, we had Grayson Hawk and Mark Reed, well, like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that was a great show, but I was just like stunned by their knowledge. So
Yeah.
I was like a deer in headlights, just taking in all the information because those two guys are just like insanely interesting.
And we barely only
I
covered like the Adam and Eve stuff. I wanted to do like a Noah's Ark episode, but that would be like a whole different episode. Yeah, Roadshow, go ahead.
I heard of Mark. I heard of Mark Reed. I don't know if you've heard of Atheist Junior. Uh, that's
I haven't.
that's the channel. That's the channel I've heard uh, Mark Reed about. Like when he was one of the people who debated Kent Hovind.
Yeah,
If you
he
know
did.
about that guy, uh,
Yeah.
and he was obviously phenomenal. He's obviously phenomenal, and I'm glad you guys got to hang out with him.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
awesome.
he's really cool. Like he's so awesome at debate. He's like, man, like pretty impressive.
Yeah, I wouldn't even want to try to debate either of them actually. It's like
Right, man, that would be a rough one.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So if we don't have anything else, I will sign out. I do have a little bit of a message to leave everybody with. So we good?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm good.
All right. So I just wanted to say that
Hold on,
this,
one moment.
Well, hold on. Let's
yeah,
let Rogue show. All right.
yeah.
Sorry.
Go.
Um, this is This is going to be the public service announcement, or well,
All right.
the second,
Mine's kind of
the
too.
first, probably first, yeah, public service announcement. Um, don't let us be the only people doing this. Don't let us be the only people like doing this. They're trying to educate people. Be the guy out there. Be the guy or gal or non-binary. You're that will stand up for human rights. That will stand up for medical freedom and medicine as a whole and free speech. All of that. Be the be the person to stand up for that and advocate for that. Advocate for that stuff. Teach. Do some organizing. Uh, edu- educate people because your voice may seem small, but a small difference is still a difference. Uh, don't lose. I know you've heard this a lot, but don't lose hope.
Yeah.
That's how. That's how Trump wins. Uh, and that's why.
100% Rogue Show.
That's why.
100%. Yeah.
Completely agree. Couldn't have said it better. Joe, you have any words?
No, I'm gonna be like the vice president and say I completely agree with everything that Rogue Show just said.
I reiterate that message.
Yeah.
Thank you, JD Vance, Joe. So my message is that we hope that all of these shows mean something. Like, for example, this episode wasn't just about, calling out harm. That we hope that it helps the people listening that maybe don't know this yet understand why these ideologies are thriving, like these harmful negative ideologies are thriving, how they spread, and what we can do to fight back. We shouldn't sit and be silent while history repeats itself, right? We shouldn't let all of this fear and division define us because we can do a lot better than that. And the fight against dehumanization is not like a political game. It involves real people, real lives, and their futures, children even. So what we're seeing now is an attack in the fundamental idea that all human beings deserve dignity, respect, and equality. And while there are a lot of things that are out of our control, what we can do is rehumanize those who are being dehumanized.
Yeah.
Because when we stand together is when we show our humanity. To be human is to fight for those whose voices are being oppressed. So stand up, speak up, and don't let this conversation end right here. Share this episode, have these hard discussions, support the communities that are under attack, get involved. Like Rogue Show say, get involved, get organized, do something, because nobody else is coming to fix this. It's up to us.
It's up to us.
Yep.
Yeah.
So until next time, take care of each other, stay loud, and stay human. See you.